I'm going to start. 5. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Regional Radio Sports Network. We're broadcasting live on RRSN.com, Regional Radio Sports Network. My name is Paul Condry. We're going to be joining our affiliate, WGCS 91.1 FM, at the top of the hour, but we welcome you into the video portion of the broadcast alongside Tanner Camp, who is the editor of the Indiana Football Digest and their publications design man. Of course, teamed up with the legendary sports writer and, of course, senior editor Matt Copsey as we produce the 32nd Indiana Football Digest, which is available for your viewing pleasure by buying a copy today at www.indianafootballdigest.com. So make sure that you do that. Once again, we thank you for joining us here tonight. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Regional Radio Sports Network. We are broadcasting live and in living color from Beef O'Brady's, State Road 23 in beautiful Granger, Indiana. My name is Paul Condry. I'm the president and founder of the Regional Radio Sports Network and the publisher of the Indiana Football Digest. Publications coordinator and editor, Tanner Camp, to my immediate right. Once again, our production being handled today by the lovely and talented Tanya Condry and the venerable old dog, if you will, Fred Maxey, hanging out with us here today. But it's a privilege, as always, to hang out with you here today at Beef O'Brady's. We'll be starting our regular coaches box in the next portion of our location here at Beef O'Brady's starting next Thursday on 91.1 FM, every Thursdays from 6 to 7. But we're glad that you joined us here today for our program. And, of course, a special thanks to the many people who underwrite our coverage here today of the 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Network Indiana Football Digest Kickoff Classic. Thanks again to our friends at Harris & Sons Constructions, Cubit Networks, Beef O'Brady's, the United States Marine Corps, Lilliard Insurance Agency, the Ronald McDonald House, McDonald Physical Therapy, and our friends at Horizon Bank. We're glad that you've joined us here today. On the dais this evening, scheduled to join us here today, South Bend, Washington, the Northwood Panthers, the Jimtown Jimmies, the Mishawaka Cavemen, the Marion Knights, the Concord Minutemen, the Penn Kingsmen, the St. Joe Huskies, the Riley Wildcats, the Fairfield Falcons, and the Elkhart Lions, all scheduled to join us here tonight. Tanner, it's an exciting time because the official broadcast season starts tonight. We're going to duplicate this show and actually even go take it a whole nother step with an additional hour coming up on Monday at Peddler's Pizza in Valparaiso when we have our Northwest Indiana program. And I'm excited about that, getting back to the geographical area where I grew up and cut my teeth, as they say.
Well, and Paul, you always mention with this time of the year, and when the Football Digest comes out, that's really the opportunity to enjoy the book being out. But then once that stretch happens, once August hits, we know that is closer and closer to football season. And really, anytime the kickoff show happens, that's the true indication to our many, many listeners and viewers that means football season's right around the corner. We'll have many broadcasts, including 4 different ones on Saturday with volleyball and also men's and women's soccer. But really, the big stories start next week when we have week 1 of a high school football season and many different changes just in the Michiana area alone.
Yeah, a lot of different coaching changes in which throughout the course of the state. It's not as bad as it was a few years ago. I think we were at 48 coming into this fall. If you check out your Indiana Football Digest, there's a nice listing on page 391 if you're trying to keep track, along with the Indiana Football Digest. But we encourage you right now to make sure that you mark page 114, 110, 107, 108, 172, along with page 33, 175, 112, 113, 30, and page 72. We're going to be doing all those pages. We're going to give you a quick look and going over with that tonight here on the program. But Tanner, I know this was your third go-around as the publications designer. Your thoughts as you finish this bad boy up here?
You know, Paul, I think what always amazes me as someone who's really gotten to do the legwork of putting this book together is that when you look at the design, I mean, you think that after 32 different books that it'd be something different, and you find a way to use the different color scheme. And, of course, one of our great friends, Jim Cox, who's also a huge part in what we do, a great design that we've never seen with it. I know one of your former interns and now at Jacksonville State, and Donnie Smith, he's even said, you'd think after so many times you'd think of that, you just repeat something from before, but we didn't. And that's what always makes it great. And I always love the special feature articles because that's what helps really make the book stand out, with a whole bunch of different, where we have former players who are on the cover that are now head coaches, or whether it's the last word in the book. And that's what I always love, is that there's always something that makes each Football Digest stand out from the other.
Yeah, two of my favorite articles. This particular one was penned by my good friend Ryan Lutz, and of course, if you can see the book here, Rooted Influence, Ryan's did a wonderful article with Matt Hofer, former Valparaiso standout, who's now at Toledo University. Had a chance to spend some time with Matt and get to know him a little bit. So that was one of my favorite articles. I think Ryan, who did a wonderful job not only with his book, Rooted Influence, but also did a wonderful job of interacting. Ryan, who's a pastor here locally, and at Bethany Missionary Church just out in Elkhart. So Ryan's in a situation where he had a chance to get to know, because Matt, we were able to help sponsor him as he took a missions trip to Ethiopia. And so that was a really, really neat story for Ryan to share and tell in that one. And my other one was one that I actually did myself. And I don't give that for anything shameless plug, but I had a chance to visit with a young man who I got to know when he was a little boy. His dad was a very, very dear friend. I had a chance to spend some time with Justin Fry, who's now the offensive coach at the Ohio State University. And Justin, of course, who cut his teeth at Elwood High School, went off to Indiana University, had a stellar career there. And, of course, he's been a college football coach over the course of the last 2 decades. And I'm excited for him, excited to be able to spend some time with him. So those are some of the things that we had on that are particular. What were your favorite features this year?
Well, of course, one thing that I always like is anything with Mark Hoffman as he goes into the NHSA. SACA, that's a lot with it there. But, Paul, I've been with you now for a couple of years, actually 5 to 6 years now. Started with an intern on the station that we're on, 91.1 The Glow, my senior year, and that eventually have now decided to hang around for a couple of years. But the one thing that I've always known is that Mark Hoffman has been one of the best coaches that has come through that part of the state, and really, quite frankly, maybe the entire Hoosier state during his time over at Valparaiso. When I hear the impact that he has made, and obviously with Bill Marshall still doing a spectacular job of keeping that Valpo football legacy, it's great to kind of look back and understand the importance of his legacy, and very deserving to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I know it's not an article, but I always love the broadcast football schedule, because when I'm putting that page together, we're going to have 6. There are going to be nights where we have up to 5 or 6 different broadcasts per night. That or per Football Friday, and I don't know many other affiliates that are going to be able to do that, including, of course, Penn Kingsman Football here on 91.1 FM The Globe. So those are just a couple of my favorites in this year's book.
We're going to take our first time out. We're going to come back and we're going to take a look at where some of the teams we rated them in the preseason poll. Keep in mind the Indiana Football Coaches Association polls will be coming out, I believe, next week. So you can get your arguments ready, or you can throw your pens our way. And, of course, anything you'd like to talk about American tackle football, I'm always available to talk and argue about that particular subject. You can email me at pcondry@rrsn.com. Also, a quick reminder that don't forget you can join many of our teammates throughout the course of the season, all season long, with the legendary Bob Lovell on Network Indiana Sports Talk. We're going to take a 2-minute timeout. Come back live to Beef O'Brady's. Once again, our coverage today being presented in part by Harrison Sons Construction. And we'll be back with more right after this on the Regional Radio Sports Network. Welcome back here on Regional Radio Sports, the Beef O'Brady's. I am Paul Condry along with Tanner Camp. As always, it's a privilege to put the headset on here for another year. And I was talking with a good friend of mine via private message today, my good friend Vince Turner. And Vince was just talking about, hey, you're still doing this after all these years. And I started thinking about it, Tanner. I'm thinking, I started in the 80s, so you look at the 80s, the 90s, the zeros, the 10s, the 20s. And so you think about it from a decade standpoint, it's like, oh, my goodness. Soon approaching my 5th decade, and this is crazy to think about doing something for such a long time. And special thanks goes out to Cormac back at the studios and 91.1 FM to go. But I want to give a shout out right from the get-go to my longtime friend Jason Samuel, who has done a spectacular job at 91.1 FM The Globe. The amount of young people that have been sent our way that we've had a chance to impact in the lives of them over the course of the last 20 years since Jason took over has just really been a blessing, not only to us, but hopefully we have had a chance to bless them as well. I know Tanner's one of those guys, Dante Stanton, who's working over ABC 57, another one of our guys. Dalton Shetler's now the voice at Michigan State, and we can go on and on about some of the great Allison Prigge, who's over at Notre Dame, doing some things there. So a lot of cool things we've had a chance to have. Of course, the legendary Tony Miller. Of course, he worked with us for some time. It's been a lot of fun having the kids from 91.1 FM. We're excited to be working with Cormac Kuplichty here on the program here tonight. Tanner, well, we went out on the limb and talked about these teams, the top 10, as we called them, our dandy dozen, if you will. And, of course, always subject to personal opinion, but the group of our team that all got together, there was a half a dozen of us got together, and we all said, pick your top 12, and this is what we came up with. So our top-ranked team in Indiana in 6A, Ben Davis, Crown Point, Westfield, Warren Central, and Center Grove. That was our 1 through 5. You look at the bottom, Hamilton Southeastern, Indianapolis Cathedral, Carroll, Carmel, Brownsburg, Snyder, who, of course, was the 5A champion a year ago. They bumped up. And, of course, they are number 11, and Fisher's coming in at number 12. If you look at Class 4A, Tanner, who were some teams in Class 4A that, or check that 5A, excuse me, that jumped off the page? You think that Decatur Central team was, they were the defending champions or defending runners-up a year ago. We rated them number 1.
Well, the reality is with Kyle Enright's group, who's done a really nice job. We were down there for the IFCA All-Star game, and he was ecstatic about the fact of this group. A lot of the key contributors that we saw in that game down at Lucas Oil Stadium were youngsters. They were either sophomores or juniors, so he's going to be returning a lot of key pieces back to this team. And naturally, Snyder and Kurt Tittman, who's done a spectacular job with Fort Wayne Snyder. Congratulations to the Panthers. They're getting their new stadium here in the next 2 years. But when it comes to the Hawks, the reality is they're the state runner-up, and they're going to bring back a lot of good talent, but there are a couple other teams that are going to try to look to dethrone the Hawks in 5A. I mean, you got Maryville in 2A, Brad Cease, who's done a great job. Then you got Whiteland, of course, Valparaiso, led by Bill Marshall. You have Castle at 5, Concord, of course, who we're expecting to see Craig Kaler's group here tonight in the 6th spot. Then Bloomington North at 7, East Central, of course, back-to-back 4A state champions. Now they've bumped up to the success factor in 5A. Then you got Warsaw, who actually dropped down for Bart Curtis's group. They're in the 9th spot. Bloomington South at 10. Kokomo, who has also moved up in the 11th spot, and Lafayette Jeff in the 12th spot, who moved down. So you can see just in those of the last 5 teams that we just listed, 4 of them were impacted because of the new reclassification system or moved up because of the success factors. So a lot of different teams that are going to try to dethrone Decatur Central to make a trip to Lucas Oil.
We all got together and pulled our heads together and said, hey, listen, who's the number 1 team in 4A? And it was unanimous across the board. New Palestine was our number 1 team in Class 4A. Bishop Chatard, of course, another team that's moving up a notch. And of course, Robbie Doyle has done a masterful job at Chatard High School. They are as well coached as any team in the Hoosier State. Brebeuf Jesuit, you look special things you can expect there from that group. Matt Geski's group should be pretty special. The quarterback back. Greenfield Central, Mount Vernon of Fortville comes 1 through 5. Our 6 through 12 goes Evansville Wrights, Hanover Central, New Prairie, Columbia City, Kankakee Valley, Northwood, who we'll see tonight, and the Leo Lions all coming into that scenario. And, of course, you can make the argument that Evansville Memorial is a group that, could have been in that same situation. But I like where we were at, and we'll be proven wrong, I'm sure, after 2 weeks.
And then when you
just
take
the way it goes, folks.
That's just how it is. We make the decisions, and as you mentioned, that's what the arguments are for, and that's what makes it great up until we put on pads and helmets next week for the first week of football season. Then, Paul, you move on to 3, and, of course, Heritage Hills, they ran into Chatard, who, of course, they moved up to 4A, as we already mentioned, and I tell you what, Coach Wilkerson, he's got something special going down at Heritage Hills.
Yeah, let me point out that Evansville Memorial's in 3A now, so that's mistake number 1, Fredo, if you're scoring at home.
And that's what makes Evansville Memorial, but the other teams in front of you. We mentioned Heritage Hills at 1, Knox at 2. They had a spectacular, and I tell you what, the Miles McLaughlin kid, he's something special. He's already broken the school rushers record, and he's going to be a junior this year. That might be someone to consider when we pick our primetime 25 here in the next couple months. Lawrenceburg at number 3. We already mentioned Evansville Memorial at 4. Guerin Catholic at 5. West Lafayette at 6. Tell you what, Shane Fry, he's done a really nice job down for West Lafayette. Gibson Southern at 7. Batesville at 8. Number 9, Fort Wayne Bishop Blue Ridge. Of course, they bumped up after winning the state title this past year. Delta at number 10. Of course, Landon Brooks on the cover of the Indiana Football Digest, a 6'7" player who, my goodness, he is really special. Mississinawa at the 11th spot and Tri-West Hendricks at 12. And even just those 12 alone, Paul, you can make the argument that one needs to be moved here and one needs to move the other. But for now, Heritage Hills stands at the top in terms of our group here.
You know, we got 1 and 2 being Heritage Hills. And, of course, you mentioned Knox. Jed Goldsberry, his dad was on the cover of our Indiana Football Digest, ironically, when he was in high school. Tremendous player, Southwest Indiana Player of the Year, 2,500 yards. He's a kid that certainly that can deserve a couple votes for the cover. And you mentioned McLaughlin, all he's done last year. 267 times he touched the football, 2,519 yards. So he can he can play the game with the best. So that's our quick look at Class 3A. And you move on over to Class 2A. Well, you know, this was kind of a no-brainer for all of us. And matter of fact, I was on with Bob Lovell last week, and I have been the last 2 or 3 weeks, talking about Indianapolis Lutheran. And Lutheran's in a situation where, you know, they ran the table the last few years doing Class 1A football, and now they're going to move it up to Class 2A football. And they've got Jackson Willis, their quarterback, who's been around forever. He is in his senior season this year, so he is going to be very, very special. You can look for him to really be able to navigate. And I just don't think there's a big enough difference from Class 1A football to Class 2A football. It may be just a few hundred kids, but I really believe when it's all said and done, the jump is not that big. Now, I know that talking with Dave Pash at the All-Star game, I know he mentioned to me that he lost a couple kids. One was kind of poached, if you will. You use that term. Went down south to, I think, IMG Academy. Mm-hmm. And so those kind of situations kind of play itself out. But we got Lutheran at number 1, Lafayette Central Catholic. You know, they got some holes to fill, but make no mistake about it, Lafayette Central Catholic, very, very talented team. And excited about what they're going to be doing there. North Posey at number 3, Linton Stockton at 4, Eastern Hancock at 5, and Paoli rounding out the top 6. The bottom half of 2A will feature Brownstown Central, Centerville, and Rand. The old saying there, tradition never graduates. They got one of the best defensive backs in all of Indiana. We'll be talking about him a lot all season. Southmont, Triton Central. They've lost the great quarterback, Jay Stuckey, who was on the cover of our Indian Football Digest. Matter of fact, he was the player of the year in his class last year. And rounding it out is going to be the Comets of Eastern Greentown. So that's a quick flyover for Class 2A. And finally, Tanner, Class 1A. We're guaranteed to have a new champion. Make no mistake about that one. And the question is who's going to fit that spot? And if it's the first time that we've said this in 3 or 4 years, Class 1A is wide open.
Well, and you mentioned not only a new champion, a new runner-up too, but the last 3 years have only been Indianapolis Lutheran and Adams Central. And with both those programs moving up, it's going to be the first time in the 3 or 4 years that we're going to have 2 new teams battling it now down in Lucas Oil. And we think South Putnam, and they have always been oh so close, but unfortunately it's been Lutheran that has always stopped them at the door. So South Putnam's going to be a team that we have at number 1 right now. North Decatur at 2. Similar story, another team that was stopped by Indianapolis Lutheran. So those 2 programs alone are going to be what we really need to keep an eye on. North Judson, St. Pierre. I tell you what, Coach Lambert, he's done a spectacular job. But similar to South Putt and North Decatur, they ran into Adams Central, so yeah. That's the whole story. Sheridan at number 4, of course, Larry Bud Wright, who always seems to find a motive to keep going on and on as the winningest coach in all of the Hoosier State. Monroe Central at 5, Triton at 6. They've been on the uprise the last couple of years. Of course, Coach Whitaker, who's done a great job. Of course, the Bethel graduate from here locally in the Michiana area. Springs Valley at 7. Jason Lowe, he's done a great job with that group, too, down at the home of Larry Bird. Providence at 8. LaVille at 9. South Adams at 10, of course, their debut debuting their new field this year. They went from grass to turf field for Grant Mosier's group, 11 Carroll Floor and 12 Pioneer. But really, you just take a look at those top four especially, and those are teams that you could all very well see down at Lucas Oil Stadium battling out. So this is going to be a fun year for Class 1A for who's going to be the two teams representing the North and the South.
I know my buddy Fred Max, he's been singing the praises of this North Judson team, justifiably so. The quarterback, McDaniel's back, Brock Benson, the running back's back, Cole Wilcox, linebacker. All three of those young men made our Indiana Football Digest, and along with C.J. Sanchez, they had four preseason All-State recognition here. And you look at, we also mentioned North Decatur, Xander Jones, the outstanding. He's one of the best tight ends in all of Indiana, regardless of class. And Caden Scudder, the big defensive lineman, is back for that group. And so it is going to be a fun ride had by all in Class 1A this season. We're going to take a quick timeout and come back with more of our continuing coverage of the 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Indiana Football Digest Kickoff Classic, being presented in part by Harrison Sons Construction, Cubit Networks, Beef O'Brady's, the United States Marine Corps, Lilliard Insurance, the Ronald McDonald House, McDonald Physical Therapy, and our friends at Horizon Bank. We'll be back live from Beef O'Brady's as the kickoff show continues right after this on Regional Radio Sports. Thanks to Mark and his team here today on 91.1 FM. And, of course, once again, a special thanks to Cormac for his great work back at the studios. And, of course, thanks to Tanner Camp, Fred Maxey for the work here today as we move along. Expected to join us here today, the Northwood Panthers, the Jimtown Jimmies, Mishawaka Cavemen, Marion Knights, the Elkhart Lions, Fairfield, the Riley, St. Joe, Penn, Concord. We're all going to especially excited about seeing these teams here tonight. Of course, one of the big aspects of putting together the Indiana Football Digest, and I don't want to say one of the most controversial aspects of the Indiana Football Digest, but certainly one of the things that pops up in everybody's mind each and every year is the Prime Time 25. And this year, Prime Time 25 group, I had a chance to spend some time with those young lads when we were at the Colts Complex in Indianapolis for the Gritty's Banquet. It's always neat to be able to get to hang out with 400 of our very, very best friends of high school and college football, respectively, in the middle of basketball season. Always a neat thing to be able to do that. But scheduled to be with us here today, and looking forward to Marion Dye, of course, who is a product of Elkhart High School. He just recently committed to Tennessee. He's a member of that Indiana Football Digest Primetime 25. But some other kids that we're going to see here tonight, I'm assuming, is going to be Jackson Snyder from Mishawaka High School. It seems like we've got a Mishawaka student on the cover of the Indiana Football Digest the last 4 or 5 years. We'll see that happen right in front of our eyes. But one of the things that we've got going on, we mentioned in regards to North Judson just a short time ago, Cole Kozar is a member of that Primetime 25 from North Judson. So that group is very, very loaded. But I like this group of student athletes. Got a chance to meet each and every one of them. One of them I'm very excited about because he's going to be one of our featured articles coming up on Colts.com next week, and that's Brandon Logan. Brandon Logan is going to wear the prestigious number 1 jersey at our Nelson Snyder High School in the Fort. He is going to be, I got some time with him this week, and we're going to be talking with him about his decision to switch from playing baseball at Vanderbilt. Now he has made the commitment to come right here to St. Joseph County. He's going to play baseball at Notre Dame and football. And ironically, an interesting note in regards to number 1 on the Snyder Panthers, his dad, Brandon Logan, in 2002 was a member of the Indiana Football Digest cover group. And, of course, at that point in time, he was the all-time leader in tackles. Ironically, there was another kid in 2002 who also did the same thing, played football and baseball at the University of Notre Dame, the legendary Jeff Smarja. So it'll be interesting to see how Brandon Logan, when he makes his decision to come to Notre Dame, how he'll play. I think he's a special athlete. Reminded me a lot of some of the legends that we've seen over there. We saw Von Dunbar play. We had a chance to see the legendary Rod Woodson play. And so, he's in that same type of category where he has got some of that. May not have the same Olympic-type speed that we saw from Rod Woodson, but he is a special talent. And that'll be our feature article on Colts.com coming up next week.
Well, and Paul, I want to really jump back to the fact that Brandon's dad was on the cover, and I think that's what makes this book even so much more special when I get to see it. Again, I don't have the history, or I'm nowhere near it like you are with it, although I'm trying to learn and pick your brain each and every single day with it. But what a cool opportunity for you that for some of these kids that their dads were on the cover, and you mentioned we met Brandon down there. What a really, really great kid, and I tell you what makes the Primetime 25 great is not only is Brandon on here because he's a great athlete and because he's great at football, he represents Indiana high school football well. That is something that we always put emphasis on when picking these kids. I mean, they're not just the most talented in our state. These are the kids that we are saying that we think best represent the Hoosier State in regards to high school football. And we met a number of these kids down. I mean, you talk about Marion Dye at Elkhart. Tell you what, he makes me feel kind of small, but I tell you what, a very kind-hearted person who, well, we want to congratulate him on his commitment to Tennessee. But that's what we wanted. We met all these kids, and you could tell how great of an opportunity it was to be able to talk with each other and represent different parts. You've got teams who are as far up as north, and you got teams down in Evansville, all the way down about as south as you can get. And that's the really cool part about the Primetime 25. It's not focused on just the north, central, or south. Its goal is to try to really promote the entire Hoosier State.
We're going to take our first time out as we have athletes coming in. We're going to visit some in a couple of minutes here with our good friend Nate Andrews. I've known Nate since he was a little guy, and we'll be talking with him here momentarily. But just a case in point about that Primetime 25. You legitimately could take Marion County and say, you can put 25 players out of Marion County and say, this is our Primetime 25. But when I started this book 32 years ago, the game plan was let's get a nice mix geographically. Second part was be a nice mix of Class 1A, 2A, and 3A and 4A kids, because that's where we were at that point in time when we were doing the book. And then as we expanded it to 6A. The easy thing would be to say, okay, let's expand the Primetime 25 to 30 or 35. But I thought what we would do is we have a nice mix. And there's a really unique story. Casey Jones from Springs Valley High School. You mentioned that's the home of Larry Bird. Next year will be number 33. I think we should go green and white on the cover.
Oh,
maybe.
Why not?
But Casey Jones had a spectacular year, and he did it playing with a broken back.
Man.
That's an amazing story, and we'll be doing a story on him coming up on Colts.com a little bit later. We're going to take a 2-minute timeout, come back to Beef Brady's. Our good friend Nate Andrews joins us next on Regional Radio Sports. As always, privileged to put the headset on here at Beef Brady's. Great to be visiting here with Nate Andrews, longtime friend of the program. Appreciate him so greatly, making time to come up and hang out with us. He's in his 11th season. And honestly, they got to go back to the days when you were a young guy. I mean, remember going down and visiting with your dad, and back, I mean, it should really show my age here, but I think everybody knows that at this stage. At 67, I've been around the block. This is my 5th decade of doing this kind of stuff, but it's so neat to be able to see so many guys in our industry produce wonderful offspring. And I know that you're in the process of doing that right now. You've got kids. You're involved in coaching them. You're involved in all kinds of different things. I know you stepped out of the wrestling head coach thing, so you're back just coaching football. But I'm not just saying just coaching football, because you're doing a lot of other things. So let's talk about the Andrews family. How's the Andrews family doing?
Appreciate it. First day back to school today for all of us. Andrews family's doing well. My wife Katie is at elementary school teaching 2nd grade, and my youngest son Porter just entered 2nd grade.
Okay.
So that's a unique dynamic. Cooper went to middle school this year in 6th grade, and daughter Viviana is with me at the high school this year. So we have them at all 3 levels. They're doing all the things, and I enjoy being a part of it and being there as much as I possibly can for them.
Well, you and I had the conversation on a couple occasions about the importance. You always want to be around your family, and I think that's something I have the great admiration for you, because you're longing for that, because you had that part of your life kind of cut short. You didn't get a chance to have that. But to kind of share with how you feel about your Panther family after last year's amazing trip to the state finals.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling it a family, and that's everything we try to do, is bring us together as a family, and we call it a brotherhood in our program. And last season we had a good one. one that had a lot of ups and downs to it. And
Sure.
We had to get it on track and figure it out. And credit to a couple of these guys here and some of the senior leadership we had last year. We were able to do so and navigate our way to playing our best football when it counted. And had a great run in the tournament, got stopped short down in the big game, and yet those experiences last a lifetime, and those fresh friendships do as well. And so we're ready to go here at it again and get ready to tee it up a week from tomorrow.
People always say to me, and I've talked to coaches, and I remember hearing this from Coach Giesman and Coach Sharp, and two of the greatest minds I think Michigan has ever known. I remember them always talking about the importance of when you're playing that 14th or 15th game, depending upon where you're going, and those extra practices that you're getting, because there's at some point in time when that JV team gets to spend some time, you can even bring the freshmen up to kind of get in some of those type of experiences. And all those extra reps it's almost like 2 seasons for your student athletes. Can you speak to that old theory that Sharpie and Geese talked about?
Yeah, those are wise men, no doubt about it. But it's true, and it's something that really needed for us this year. Talk about attrition in high school football and how important that is. Well, we graduated in a 4A program. We graduated 50 players in the last 2 years, 24 and 26, and they weren't just players in terms of numbers. They were great players.
Sure.
A lot of them, some of the best players our program has ever seen, and talking about the last 2 years. And so we had a lot of young bucks on this year's team. But they were able to grow up a little bit more and get some more time in with the long run that we had last year.
Well, make no mistake about it, we've got a couple guys here today who are really going to try to make those kind of big plays, and I'm sure Hayden Lickleitner is here with us. He also a member of the track team, safety wide receiver. He's wearing the white shirt over here, and Landon Zimmerman, and also a defensive lineman tight end. Okay, let's talk about these guys. Landon's also on the track team. Yeah, I always love it when guys are playing multiple sports, Nate. I just think, and I know that you were a multi-sport guy and you're a multi-sport coach at one time, how important it is, especially at a school your size, that those kids are out doing those kind of things.
Well, we believe in it, not just for our football program. We think that them being in other sports, coached by other people, gaining other experiences, and being able to compete is important for our sport. We think that wholeheartedly. But at the same time, we feel that it's a value to our school, a school our size of 900 kids. We think it's important that they do that and not just share the wealth, but be able to be a role model in the community and all the different avenues that are possible. I told my kids my classes today, that if I had to do it over again, I would have done more than 3 sports in high school. I would have tried to find a way because I think it's fun, it's important, and it's part of the process.
All right, let's start with Landon. Landon, obviously playing multiple sports. Can you tell our listening audience and our viewers tonight what you've learned by being involved in multiple sports?
Oh, it's just always getting in work. It's just always something to do and not just sitting around or waiting for the football season to come around. You got to fill your life up with something else, and I think track really does that for me. Winter's kind of my off season, kind of work on myself, go weightlifting, all this and that, and then track season come around, get me prepared for football season, gets my body moving around, and flows right into football season.
Hayden, how about you?
Track is like a very influential part to me. So as I'm a wide receiver and a safety, I mean, a lot of it comes down to like your skills and speed, and so I feel like that has greatly helped me. And I also do hurdles, and Coach Andrews has helped me on that, and so that's something I enjoy as well that I feel like benefits me in the football season.
I know it's stating the obvious, but you're disappointed after the loss to East Central. But as the winter came along and you started to sit, hey, listen, we were one of 2 teams that playing in Lucas Oil Stadium, and I know those are some great memories that will last a lifetime. I want you to take me back to getting the medal. I want you to take me back down on the field and share some things that you were thinking about. Obviously, we all know everybody was disappointed, so that's obvious. But what were some other things you were thinking about? Were you thinking about the journey? Were you thinking about your teammates, your parents? Share your thoughts with me.
Getting the medal was kind of like a moment to think, like, what's this going to lead into? I was looking up at the big screen as they called my name, Landon Zimmerman, and they put the medal around me. And I was just thinking, what's something that I can do to lead Sun next season?
There you go.
Lead these young bucks and my fellow teammates in the next season realizing we can still do this without these people that are leaving. And I feel like this year I've really tried to pursue that and push my teammates farther than what they think they can go, and I really hope we can make a run like we did last year.
Hayden, how about you?
I mean, the most surreal feeling, other than getting the medal, was just coming to the entrance before we entered the stadium, and that was just like bone chilling and everything, and it was really cool. But when we got that, I kind of just thought about the process that I've been through. I mean, I didn't start during the season, and towards the end of it, I started playing more, and so I just thought of how far I've come, and then like how far I want to come in the next 2 years, and I think that I'm very grateful for it, but it also drove me, and it's still driving me to just compete and work even harder.
What do you think, if you were to go back and you were to pick a sentence or a couple words, how would you describe last year's senior class? Were they gritty, hard-nosed? Were they unbelievable leaders? How would you guys describe your senior class and what they taught you? Either one of you.
Bringing together. I feel like at the beginning of the year we had a lot of new players coming around, and it felt apart at first, but as the games went on and we realized, hey, we got to come together if we want to really do something. And throughout the year, after we lost a couple games to Northridge and Warsaw really turned us around and made us realize, hey, we got to do something about this. And after that, we all came as one, and we started communicating with each other, and I feel like everything just kind of flowed all the way to the state finals from there on.
Hayden, now you find yourself in a situation where this is your last hurrah, and you certainly want to make your presence known. What did you do during the offseason to improve your skill set, as well as from a mental aspect, as well as from an emotional standpoint? Coach Andrews wants you guys to be leaders. I mean, that's what he's asking you to do. He wouldn't have picked you two guys. Obviously, we know one of them, our captain, is here, but you wouldn't be here if he didn't think highly of you.
Yeah, I think that this season, I mean, it just means a lot to me just to get back onto the field. And I think that we've had like player-led opportunities in the winter that I feel like have really benefited us, and to get to work better as a team. And we really bonded through that, and then just keep working through the off season, and all that have really helped me.
All right, Landon, you're the captain. The captain's going to lead in a wide variety of ways. You have guys who are quiet. You have guys who just show up and do their thing, and you have guys who are going to rattle everybody's noggins. Which one of those kind of guys are you?
I'm kind of a rattle type of guy.
There you go.
I like to get on the field screaming and trying to cheer up my teammates, even if we're down by 14 or if we're up by 32. I still start screaming and saying, hey, let's go, giving everybody high fives and just trying to lift up the spirits all the time. Okay.
When you take a look at this group here, Nate, and obviously got a lot of holes to fill. Mm-hmm. So let's just talk offensively.
Yeah.
Who's going to have to make plays defensively? Who's going to have to make plays? You got an open time.
Yeah, great point. We don't return a whole lot of experience on Friday nights.
Sure.
The good part about it is we're a program, and it's all about a process. And the great thing about the state of Indiana is everybody gets a second season, mm-hmm. So we work towards that, and those are some of our goals. The one thing that's really important in our program is program guys, and these are program guys that have worked their way through it and weren't just given something right off the bat because they were super talented. They've had to work towards it, and I feel like that's what we have in this group that we have this year. They're very, very coachable. They're working really hard. They want to come together. They want to do all the right things, and they're slowly doing those things. It's a great group to coach. I'm proud of them for that, and excited for our season and our identity to be created.
Your brother had an interesting season last year. He's our first cover kid to ever become a head Division I coach. How does it feel? How does it feel to think about that, huh?
Well, obviously very, very proud of him. Grew up, he was my hero.
Oh, sure.
Still is. And the things that he does and the things that he teaches his kids and his program is the same stuff that I'm trying to do and that Dad taught us. And I took my boys and a group of 10 young men, my boys' age, to Dayton football camp this summer, and we had an absolute blast. And so it's really cool to hear you say that, him being one of the first cover kids.
Yeah.
I look at this book every single year, and that was an awesome thing. And excited for the Flyers this year as he had a year to kind of work through some things and shake some things up and respect their past but represent a new future.
I hope you'll go back and read the article that I did with Justin Fry. Justin Fry was on the cover of the Indiana Football Digest when he was a senior. His dad passed away when he was at Indiana University and of a brain tumor, and he and I have kept in contact. Great young man, tremendous coach. A lot of people are talking about, he's one of those guys who's on that short list to be a Big Ten, MAC coach somewhere someday. But similar to Trev, that he's in that situation where he found his passion and his opportunities and has made his way to the top. Exciting thing for your family. Your dad would be so dadgum proud, man.
Yeah, well, Dad always said, I'd be proud no matter what you do. And as long as you do it to the best of your ability and you work through processes and respond to sudden change. And so we try to do that every day.
Great to see you, man. As always,
Thanks, Paul.
Just appreciate all you do. We're going to take a 2-minute timeout where the Jimtown Jimmies are on the clock. We'll come back and talk with Cody Vincent and his group. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back in 2 minutes here on the 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Network Indiana Football Digest Kickoff Classic on 91.1 FM The Globe and our web at www.rrsn.com. Thanks for joining us here tonight from Beef O'Brady's. My name is Paul Condry. I'm the president and founder of the Regional Radio Sports Network. Special thanks to Tanner Camp and Fred Maxey, Tiny Condry on my team here on site. Once again, thanks to our sponsors, Harrison & Son Construction, Cuban Networks, Beef O'Brady's, Lilliard Insurance, Ronald McDonald House, McDonald Physical Therapy, Rising Bank, just to name a few. Cody Vincent is the head football coach at Jimtown High School. He's in his first season. The year prior to that, he had a chance to hang out with Nate Andrews down in Northwood. So after a stint where he was down in Arkansas, and we were talking during the break, my cousin, back when I was growing up, he's about 5 years older than me, but had a chance to play for the legendary Frank Broyles down in Fayetteville. At that point in time, that was the old Southwest Conference, and they played with the likes of Texas and Baylor and all those, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. I don't know if I'm boring you with all that kind of stuff, but it was some old-fashioned slobber-knocking football back in those days, Cody. Yeah. Well, tell us about the trip to Fayetteville. Special place to be around the game of football, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. They love their football down there. It's the only thing in the state, so, no professional sports team at all. So it's all about the Hogs down there.
So you had a chance to come back north to work for Nate. What was it like working for my good friend Nate Andrews?
It was awesome. I mean, I'm glad that I had that stopover between college and getting this head coaching job, because he taught me a ton in just 2 seasons. So took a lot from him, and excited to kind of put my stamp on the Jimtown program now. Well,
you grew up there, and you understand the dynamics. And if you look back on the Jimtown football, you can't think about Jimtown football if you can't think about the legendary Bill Sharp. When you look back on those days of Jimtown football, those were the standard-bearer years, and everybody's going to have to, no matter who's the head coach, you've got to look back in that trophy case and say, state championship, and you go up and down the line. That's a daunting factor. I know the same thing happens at Hobart, where I grew up, right?
I literally have the chills right now as you're talking about it. I mean, one of the first things I did when I got the job was I just came in and walked around the hallways around the new gym there, and showed my son my pictures up on the wall. I mean, I didn't win any state championships, but I was lucky enough to play for Coach Sharp, and just walking through there and showing up every day and seeing the stadium, and it's awesome.
The stadium's changed a lot since you played, though, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it looks a little nicer.
Yeah, it's still a pretty special place. When you think back on playing for Bill Sharp, there's not a lot of guys you can say were life-changing guys. Very similar to Nate's dad, Jim Andrews. They're guys that in this geographical area that I hate to use the word, you can put them on a pedestal, but you really truly can, because they are so special. We could talk about Chris Giesman. We can talk about Coach Andrews, Coach Sharp, and up and down the line. There's some guys, Phil Teagarden, Tom Kurth, and those are names that we've all heard of if you've been around here long enough. So explain to me what it's like during the time there as a player to listen under that great coaching staff that they had collectively put together.
I mean, that's why I am where I am today. I mean, the coaches that I had at Jimtown growing up are literally the reason why I wanted to get into this, and I can't thank them enough. I mean, all of those guys, I couldn't name them because I'd forget one. We had probably 10 or 12 guys on staff that coached every position and just left a huge mark on the community. But Coach Sharp built Jimtown into what we are today, so it's special.
You brought a couple captains with you here today. One I've known since he was probably since he was born, Ty Zartman. Good to see him. He made our Indiana Football Digest preseason All-State team. Done a nice job. I mean, he's a guy that is just a tireless worker. We'll be talking about him, but also Christian Vasquez, another one of your catches. So let's talk about why these guys have all, because you've got a solid senior group that have had a lot of success athletically in your school. So talk about why these two guys were selected.
So the coaching staff and I talked about captains, had been talking about it for a few weeks and how we wanted to name captains for this season. And we just felt like, rather than turning it over to the team and maybe it being a popularity contest, we felt like we knew right away who two of our captains were for this year, in Ty and Christian. And just the way they show up every day and they lead us either by example or by speaking up to the team. But we haven't shut the door on naming other captains besides these two, because you're right, we do have, lucky to have a big senior class this year, senior class that's played quite a bit of varsity snaps. But these two really stood out. I mean, just the way they show up every day and handle business, get better.
All right, Christian, wrestling and track, Ty, baseball, and football. Those are some of the things that you guys like to do. Christian, let me start with you. I know that anytime there's a coaching change, there's always a little bit of apprehension. It's like, oh, what's the new guy going to be like? I don't know, any of those kind of things. Is he going to be a tough guy? Is he going to be relaxed? And there's all that kind of stuff. And don't tell me you didn't think about it, because I know you did.
I did.
Because that's just the way it is. So let's talk about now that the thought when Coach Corey says he's going to be taken off and going to Fairfield, and they made him a great offer that he couldn't refuse. And now Coach coming in, and these next thing you know. So what were some things you were thinking about? And now that you've had a chance to spend some time with him, has your opinion changed?
My opinion has changed a little bit. At first I thought maybe we were headed in a good direction, and then it changed to headed that we were headed in the right direction after getting to know Coach Vincent when we first met him. And then after all these practices, my opinion just kept going in that right direction, that we are headed for change and we're just going to be in the right way.
All right, Ty, how about you?
Obviously it's devastating to lose a coach. I've had him since freshman year. So, obviously it's devastating. Change is hard, but as we have progressed throughout the summer, just seeing how that change is bringing good and bringing new things, and we're getting it down, and it's bringing a lot of good things to the program. So I'm very excited. Yeah.
Okay, I know that you've had a little bit of an injury situation. Are you healthy coming into this 24 season?
I am, 100%. The knee's good. Everything's good. I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Well, I know for a fact that, and for our listening audience, I've been the voice of the Bethel Pilots baseball team as well as basketball for the last couple decades and some change. And your dad and I was one of my best friends, so it was a very unique situation because I had to take myself out of the element and say I can't talk to my friend about this, that, or the other. And so I had to make decisions on certain things. But I'm excited that you're here. Because not only is your dad a dear friend, but your mom is likewise. As a matter of fact, your mom worked for me last summer when she was in transition. So we were thrilled to have the Zartman family. And so give us an idea on having a dad who was a prolific high school and college athlete and has been a college coach for 20-plus years. Did you put a lot of pressure on yourself, Ty? Because I'm going to tell you flat out, Seth Zartman, when he was a player, was as good as anybody I've ever seen. He could just, I mean, he was, we used to call him Double Zartman because he was a doubles machine.
Yeah. As I grew up, I heard more and more about how big of a star my dad was, and even in high school and going into college. And so I would say, like, at a younger age, there wasn't much pressure. I kind of was in with the guys at the Bethel program, and I just kind of thought of it as a really cool thing. And, my dad's a coach, a college-level coach, and it was just a very exciting thing. But not so much just pressure, but just the things that he's taught me, the things that he's experienced. And as a coach, coaching me in a way that I haven't necessarily gotten before. So, yeah.
I know you went on a missions trip this past summer.
I did.
Can you briefly tell us about that? How did that go?
Yeah. So our church goes every 2 years to Ecuador, and we raise money and we go and we do construction down there, and we do a vacation Bible school type thing for the kids down there. We go to a place called Carmen Bajo, which is basically I don't want to say that, but like poverty type area, where these kids, their parents go and they work all day, and these kids are alone, and there's 6-year-olds watching their 2-year-old siblings. And so we had a place where they could come and they could eat and they could hang out and just learn more about the Lord and have some fun.
Christian, I'm going to give you an open-ended question. The Jimtown Jimmies are going to have a great year if these guys, I'm going to throw out some names, some teammates' names, if these guys have great seasons. So of your teammates, who needs to have great seasons for you guys to have a great season? See how well he knows his teammates' names, Cody. This is always an interesting one here.
I feel like Jimtown could have a great season if Mason Armstrong, Javen Jackson, our center Jackson Arbogast, and our fullback Ty have a great season.
All right, Ty, same question to you. Who on your team needs to step up and have a monster year for you guys to have a chance to be successful?
I would agree with Christian on Mason. Mason Armstrong is our QB, and as a quarterback, you're just a natural leader on the team, and so I think that a big role is him stepping up and taking that role. I would say our whole line in general, stepping up and really taking that role. And we have a lot of seniors on the line, and so them stepping up and taking that role. And then obviously the backfield, Xander Hummel's hopping back there. This is his first year actually doing tailback on at the varsity level, so him stepping up, and I've seen it in practice, and it's going to go really well. And our linebackers as well coming down and making tackles. So,
Cody, brutal start to the season. You start Northwood, Concord, and then you got a chance to go see their former coach, Corey Stoner, when they go down to Fairfield. So two very, very high-profile opponents who've got Division I type caliber athletes. You know them very, very well. Give us an idea from your perspective as the head coach. Give you an open-ended question.
Yeah.
We should have a good year if we do these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it in our first team meeting when I first met these guys. We got to just embrace the challenge. I mean, we're in a new conference. We're playing great football every week, and we're lucky, in my opinion, to start off against two premier teams in our area. I mean, two great programs, and we get to see what we're made of. So I think everyone just stepping up, like these guys have said, and developing more Friday night players is what we're focused on.
Well, we wish you best of luck. Ty, great to see you again. As always, give my best to your family. Christian, thanks for taking time to come out. Don't hesitate to slap him upside the noggin. You got my permission. Helmet on, helmet off. It works good for me. And Cody, good luck with everything. I appreciate you taking time, and continued success to you guys.
Yes,
the Jimtown Jimmies, the boys of Boggle will be getting into action against Nate's team, who we just talked to. Coming up after the break, I think we're going to be talking some Mishawaka football. As our good friends are in town, we'll be talking with one of our cover guys. So stick around for that, as Keith Kinder and the boys will be up next. We'll be back after this short timeout. Once again, our program being presented in part by Harrison Sun Construction, Cuban Networks, Ronald McDonald House, McDonald Physical Therapy, Horizon Bank, Hilliard Insurance, Cuban Networks, and Beef O'Brady's. We'll be back in 2 minutes on 91.1 FM The Globe and www.rrsn.com.
Who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Welcome back here on Regional Radio Sports to Beef O'Brady's. My name is Paul Condry. As always, a privilege to put the headset on here. Great to hang out with good friend Keith Kinder, head football coach at Mishawaka High School, 32nd Indiana Football Digest, Regional Radio Sports Kickoff Classic. I remember Keith when he was playing at Jimtown, playing for the legendary Bill Shaw. We've talked about some great names already here tonight. I don't know if you were eavesdropping, but there's some dudes that can coach him up. Back in the days, Nate Stabb was one of the best. Coach Sharp, we've talked about Coach Kurth. We talked about Chris Giesman. We can go up and down the line. As you think back on some of the coaches that you've had a chance, not necessarily to coach against, but through the football foundation that you guys are working with, you've had a lot of chance to hang out with some of these dudes. There's some high-quality guys.
Yeah, Phil Teagard
and
Tim Dawson.
Yeah.
Tom
Kurth.
Yeah, we were really blessed in our area with really good football growing up and coaches to look up to and admire. So this area has always been very rich in football tradition. In addition to that, staffs that were deep in talent. Deep in talented coaches too. I mean, you look at those that Jimtown staff that you certainly grew up understanding that that staff that Geese had when he was at Penn. I mean, there's half of that staff is in the Indiana Football Hall of Fame. Half of the Jimtown staff is in the Hall of Fame. But when you win a combined 10, 11, 12 state championships between the two teams, I guess you could do that, right? Yeah, absolutely. And we're pretty fortunate at Mishawaka. We grew up with that template at Jimtown, and we're blessed that like 9 guys in our coaching staff are in our building every day as teachers, and I think that makes a huge difference. So it's hard to walk around a corner at our high school and not see a football coach, and I think that's a good thing for our program.
All right, year 7, right?
Yeah.
What's different in year 7 compared to year 1?
Well, I think that I have a better understanding of what's important and what's not. In year 1, everything seemed important. In year 7, I think I've got a good idea of what needs to be accomplished in the months of June and July and August to get a team ready to play football games. In year 1, I thought we had to get together with every team that wanted to get together with us in the summer and do 11-on-11s and all that sort of stuff. And we've kind of gone to the kind of setup where we're just going to focus on Mishawaka in the summer. And that's what we've done for the past couple of years, and it's worked for us. But as we, have gotten closer to tomorrow's scrimmage, you can kind of feel that the kids are itching.
They had somebody else with a different jersey and face mask.
Our team's ready to get to competing against someone else, and so there's a really healthy balance of focusing on yourself and also getting your kids excited to play against someone else. And I think we've managed that pretty well, and our kids are ready to play.
If you had your druthers, would you continue on with the controlled scrimmage, or would you like to go back to the old days where they did the jamboree, where you played an opponent for a quarter, take a quarter off, and then play a different opponent? Would you have your druthers? Which would you like?
It's funny. I was just telling Nate 60 seconds before I put the headset on. I almost would prefer to do none of it. I think in this time frame, this day and age, with numbers being the biggest challenge for all of us in high school football, playing meaningless downs is a scary thing for any coach. So what we're using tomorrow for mostly is just to evaluate the guys that we're unsure of right now. I know the 2 guys to the right of me can play. They don't need to play 30 snaps tomorrow, and they're not going to. And so what we're going to use it as is a way to evaluate the guys who we think have a shot and could potentially add some depth to our team, but we ain't gonna win the scrimmage tomorrow. That's for sure.
As a guy who is ultra competitive, that's not using that terminology. I want to win. That's kind of weird. I mean, because you've had to take your foot off the gas, right?
Sure, yeah. And winning tomorrow is we're healthy at 9 o'clock, right? It has nothing to do with did we score a touchdown more than Valpo, or did we hold Valpo on a fourth down? Like we could legitimately care less about that. I want to see our kids compete. I want to see them play physically and fast. But whether or not Valpo moves the ball against us or has success defending us, I couldn't care less about that tomorrow.
As a potential, I just look at the whole 9 yards of this league that you're in, and I just think that every time you guys go out, you have a chance your opponent can make you better.
Yeah. From
Marion to Penn, we go up and down the line, and then you get in your league schedule, and it's like, a lot of coaches would say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to take somebody off the schedule because I just want to get some guys some quality reps against a different opponent." But we're still going to win the football game. But you have not done that. Your thought on continuing to keep the non-league schedule with some high caliber competition?
Well, it's great competition, and I think the best part is, you're less than 5 miles away from each opponent, so it's convenient. Both coaching staffs are well-respected staffs, led by great people. But like you said, the goal here is to be playing really good football in November, and the best way to play good football in November is to play good people in September and October. So our goal is to have our opponents expose us, show us where we've got to get better, and then figure out a way to get better and try to win some trophies when it matters.
You had a one-score game to the team that won the state championship, and it was a game that could have gone either way. What did you learn about the character of your kids, as well as what did you learn about your group that just graduated that will have an everlasting effect on the group that's going to have your back this year?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we learned was that we can compete with the best of the best that Indiana has to offer, and I think we proved that. I also think that our program grew up in between the 2022 and the 2023 season. We were faced with some adversity in the regional in 2022, and we didn't handle it well, and we ended up giving up a big run of points against Fort Wayne Snyder in that regional game and couldn't recover. And last year we start the game down 10-0 5 minutes into the game. And we had some injuries with some guys out and still figured out a way to take the lead with 45 seconds left in the game. So I think we learned a lot about our program, and I think that what these guys have learned, and I think that the confidence that they've taken into the offseason is that we're good enough as we are to compete with the best of the best, and we just got to figure out a way to finish games.
All right, you got a couple guys here. You got a couple captains. Jackson Snyder, by the way, he's a member of the Indiana Football Digest Primetime 25. How many years in a row you've had a guy on the cover? Is it 4 or 5? It seems like it's been forever.
Yeah.
And that's another thought. There's not a Fisher playing quarterback. I will talk about that. But you also brought Captain Brady Newsome with us here today. So what's it like not having a Fisher at quarterback? That's kind of a weird dynamic.
It is. It'll be the first time in 5 years.
Wow.
And both of those guys are great competitors, good football players. But, I've said this a couple times when asked. I'm sitting next to a Snyder. The Snyder name is as influential in the past 7 years since I've been the head coach in our football program. And that's who we're plugging in as our quarterback. Landon, Jackson's brother, is going to be a sophomore. He's done an incredible job in camp. He's super competitive. He's a tough kid, and he's a different type of player than both Jackson and Brady. So I think it'll be a little different defending him as opposed to the other two guys.
All right, let's bring in Captain Jackson Snyder, basketball, track, and of course Captain and Brady Newsome, also member of the track team. Let's start with Jackson. Jackson, first of all, I know that you're one of only 25 guys I get to ask this question to this year. What was it like at being at the Gritties, and what was the experience of being a member of the Primetime 25? And the third part of that question, what did you think about when you looked at the cover of the Indiana Football Digest?
Yeah, really just blessed to be involved in that. It's really distinguished event, and it was held at a great venue.
Yes, it is.
The Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, looking at the cover when I first got it a week ago, it didn't really seem real. Every year, my dad always buys us a copy of it. We always have past 5 years, all just sitting in our living room. So it was awesome to see me on the cover.
All right, so there's a lot of expectations for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you look at this year as you're the hey, listen, I need to go ahead and prove myself, or is it just I'm just going to go to work and do what I've always done?
Yeah, it's really just doing what I've always done. And I feel like now I'm getting all this recognition and stuff. A lot of the younger dudes, they like see me do stuff and they want to like emulate me and try to like if I do something they'll do it. So like if they see me following a coach's instructions or like working hard in the weight room, they'll want to do the same.
All right, Brady, let's bring you into this whole thing. Obviously, member of the track team. Give us an idea from your perspective as you look back on the game against Snyder that knocked you out of the playoffs. A lot to learn from that, but here you have another chance. So let's talk about some things that your team learned about themselves, that if that situation were to play itself out in a pivotal game like that, that you can say, because we learned that, we can do this now.
I would say that we learned to hold ourselves under our emotions. You know, last year we played with our emotions a lot, and that really put us in a bad spot. But this year, you know, we're just going out after hard work.
Okay, so who else is working hard on your group?
Jackson Snyder, of course. We got Caden Smith, Walker Hahn, Camden Putz, Xavier Juarez, basically whole defense just out there working every day.
When you look at this group, Jackson, is the offense ahead of the defense, or is the defense ahead of the offense right now? Because that offense it's a fine-tuned machine. When it's kicking on all cylinders, it's a tough thing to have to deal with.
Yeah, that was probably one of our biggest worries going into the year was how our offense would look when we first started camp. But they've come a long way, and they figured it out, and we're hard to stop. But if we have some people that know what they're doing and doing their job and not doing it for themselves but doing it for the good of the team, it's to be feared.
Can you speak to what you've learned from the coaching staff during your high school careers?
I'd say just how to be a man and handle emotions and really how to face controversy and attack situations instead of hide from them.
What do you think, Brady? What have you learned from being a part of this Mishawaka staff as a human being?
To play football as a man, that's a big thing. And, yeah, that's basically it, really.
All right, so when you look at your schedule, who on your schedule, I mean, obviously you've got Marion coming up on Friday, and I know one of our broadcast guys will be there for that particular game. Give us an idea on what you have to do to be successful against that Marion Knights team.
Yeah, I just feel like we don't really have to focus on who we're playing, but what we do. Because I feel like if we do our job, everybody does their job and does it for the good of the group. Like, I do my job, he does his, and we'll all be successful. And I remember one time, my sophomore year, we were playing Northridge, and we were, like, thinking, oh, yeah, we're just going to cruise by this game. Like, we'll just hold them to, like, 10 points, and we'll just score 40 on them. And I also remember, like, the big teams, we were just worried about the big teams, Warsaw, Northwood. And then Northridge came in and gave us a run for our money. We had to go into OT. They had to miss a kick. So, you can't take anybody lightly on our schedule.
Keith, I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb when you look at the getting ready, that you got to respect every one of your opponents. I know that's something I go back to Bill Sharp again and thinking that was a guy who always puts yourself in a position to always respect every opponent you play.
Yeah, and before we talk about that, I just want to say how proud I am of these two guys. They're fantastic kids. They love Mishawaka. Jackson was the point guard on our basketball team, played 32 minutes on a regional championship basketball team, and Brady, state qualifier in track. So these guys are not just football players. They're great young men. They're respectable guys in the classroom, and they're guys that every coach would be proud to have. So. But like you said, yeah, our schedule's tough. We try to take every week one game at a time, and just we talked about it today. Like, the goal right now is just to get better every single day, right? It doesn't. You can't be thinking about what's coming up. You just got to get better every single day, and that's how you end up winning trophies in November.
Final thought: when you look at the landscape of your league, is there a team that is a prohibited favorite? I mean, this Northwood team last year was pretty talented. You guys are pretty talented. Bart's guys are always really good. Who's the team to beat in this league starting out?
I don't know the answer to that. I think that there's probably, just like there was a year ago, 4 or 5 teams that could make a case for being able to win the conference. I believe that we'll have a chance to be in the thick of that if we stay healthy and we get better every day. But I also think that Warsaw, Northwood, Concord, Northridge, all the usual suspects will all also be in the mix. So we've got our work cut out for us, and if we start thinking about where we fit in the pecking order, then we're in trouble. We got to worry about right now getting ready for Marion in week 1.
Guys, best of luck within everything. Jackson, how good is this Landon Snyder kid going to be? Is he going to be pretty good too?
Yeah, he's sneaky talented. Everybody's going to see.
And you got a special thought on if he was here today, what would you say? Hey, listen, you've got to do this because this is part of the legacy. What would you tell him?
No, I think he knows.
Okay.
I think he knows expectations are high on him, but I think he's about to fulfill every single one of them.
There you go. I love the attitude. Once again, the Mishawaka Cavemen, a special thanks to Coach Keith Kinder here, former Jimtown standout, and a special thanks again to Jackson and Brady for being with us. We're going to continue on here at Beef O'Brady's. I think the Marion Knights are next up on the dais, so stick around. More things coming your way for the 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Indiana Football Digest Kickoff Classic. We'll return in 2 minutes on 91.1 FM The Globe and RRSN.com.
Bank elevator pitch. Why aren't we telling you about ourselves? We're waiting for you to tell us about yourself. Our pitch can wait. Horizon Bank. Get a conversation started.
Oh. Welcome back here on Regional Radio Sports. Hey, folks, Rooted Influence. Booked by my good friend Ryan Lutz, my broadcast partner for high school basketball. He was an outstanding high school and college athlete, identifying the root of lasting leadership. Rooted Influence. It's available on Amazon, and thanks to Ryan for his great support. He's now the senior pastor at Bethany Missionary Church in Elkhart, and we thank him for his great support and prayers as our programs continue on. Great to have Mike Davidson here from Mishawaka Marion. He's going to be joining us here. His team coming off a 5-5 record a year ago. We'll be talking with him. Also, Caleb Johnson, a member of his team, is here with us as well. We'll be talking some Marion Knights football, but just a couple programming reminders. Marion Knights football right here on Regional Radio Sports. Make sure you can check those games out at www.rrsn.com. Mike, I know you're excited about the big picture with your group coming back. Good to see you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. This is always a blast, and really excited to work again with these guys. We had a good group last year, a good senior group that has moved on, but really good senior group, and they're doing a great job leading the troops.
You know, it's interesting of the guys that are going to be here tonight. There's a lot of guys that are right around the same time frame. You're at year 7. Keith, who was just with us at year 7. You know, Craig Keller, who's going to join us later, in his 10th season. Benny Downey in his 9th season. You go up and down the line, the guys that have been doing this for a while. Your guys are all about the same age, and your kids are getting to the age now where you're coaching your kids. Your kids are part of your program, whether they be either cheerleaders or ball boys or whatever the situation like that. So let's start with the Davidson household. How is the Davidson household holding up at this time of the year?
It's busy. We got 4-year-old Megan's doing dance on Tuesdays. My oldest Patrick is doing Granger Rocket Football League. I'm doing the Chain Gang on Saturday. So I don't want to be up in the stands, but at the same time I'm not on the sidelines coaching and bothering those guys. They do a great job. So. And then my middle one, Anthony, I think he's starting up hockey here mid-September, if I'm not mistaken. So we're plenty busy. Kids are doing good, and I know they haven't made it out to many practices this summer, but I know there will be a few every now and again where I'm picking them up after school, and you guys are tackling dummies or going to be the tackling dummies, one of the two.
Well, one thing about it, if you look at the big picture here, in 7 seasons, you find yourself in a situation as now Braxton Brooks is going to be joining us as he's going to slip into your screen there at the other end of the table. So we welcome Braxton into the broadcast as well here. So when you look at being in a competitive situation like you are, you had a chance to hang out with one of the most competitive dudes I've ever been around, and my good friend Reggie Glahn. You spent some time working under him when he was head coach at Marion. And it's neat to see coaches get their kids involved in competitive situations. I really believe, because if you're in those type of situations, you're going to be when you get out into the real world. After all, when all the sports is all done and said, you've got to be able to handle yourself in the real world in competitive situations. So I think athletics is something can be a byproduct of great things in the future. What you say about that?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's wins and losses on a daily basis out there, whether it's you get a job or you don't. Maybe you'll lose a job. Your girlfriend breaks up with you, like whatever the case may be. And dealing with whether it's adversity in team sports or the good times in team sports, being able to handle that and transitioning then out into the real world is things that I know these guys hear me harp on all kinds of stuff, and hopefully they take a little bit with them when they're all done. So
Braxton Brooks and Caleb Johnson are here representing the Knights football program here tonight. Why did you choose these two guys to join us tonight and represent your program?
They did do a little paper, rock, scissors to determine there was a third member, and I didn't remember if you guys said 2 or 3, so I approached Gio Garcia as well, and then these two came out on top as far as the tournament. So, but these guys have been great leaders for us for the last 3 years. They were thrust into action as sophomores. Yes. I think as much as anything, the work that they've put in the off season, not just this off season, but the last 3 years, they're a great example for our young guys as far as what the work, whether it's the weight room, classroom, dawn patrols, conditioning, whatever the case may be. They're great examples for those guys coming up. That this is what you could be.
Well, I know there's something that's really unique. That's a streak that I know you want to end today or this season, and that's 2 straight years without a playoff win, which is so rare if you look at historically speaking. Mm-hmm. I mean, there were this group, this program, 7 straight years where they were in the regional championship, and so you look at that, and obviously this is a great opportunity for these 2 young men as well as this senior class to make its mark. What did you say to the seniors, this group that we'll be talking with tonight, about, hey, listen, it's time for us to right the ship? Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of people will be happy with 5-5, but that's subpar in Marion terms.
Yeah, and we talk about the standards and our expectations. We expect to be playing for championships in November. And these guys, we started meeting back in December, maybe January, as far as our leadership and developing that aspect. But the message has been, let our talk be on the field, but let our talk get others talking about us again, because it's been a while, and these guys are hungry. It's easy. I mean, when you have that little, I would say, gap or that drought, it's easy from a motivating factor. Like, guys, if you want to do championship things, these are some of the things you have to do throughout the year, not just on Friday nights in September and October. And so these guys have bought in. They've done a great job. We got a big senior group and one with a lot of experience. So they're hungry, and they were around as freshmen. I mean, they saw some of the old guys then, and I don't know how much they literally looked up to them or anything along those lines, but they saw what we're all about. So I'm expecting big things from them.
All right, let's start it off with Caleb Johnson wearing the great shirt here, defensive end, tight end. Also is a member of the team's the school's track and field group. Caleb, let's start with you in regards to the question I just talked to Mike. I mean, the standard for Marion football is one of the state's elite program. And I know that it probably didn't sit well with you guys. If I know your competitive nature, I know it certainly didn't sit well on Mike's. I'm sure he thought about it for the whole summer, and he's probably thinking right now, Paul, why did you bring it up? Well, because I think it's a teaching moment. So, what did you learn about last year, and what are you going to do to make things better?
Well, last year, coming off 2 years ago with 2-8, last year was a step up, definitely not where we wanted to be. We had a lot of great leadership, but I think we need more voice on the team, a little more just getting the whole team involved. And I think coming off of last year, keeping our heads in the game, like during the ups and the downs, especially during the ups. We don't want to play down to our opponents. And then if we are getting beat, we want to stay in the game because we know we can come out on top.
Okay, who else on this team is going to have big years? I know Joe Boone's a guy, Brian Osman, right? There are a couple guys that I know the expectations are high based upon the information that Mike shared with me during the offseason. Give me some other names that we'll see great things from. Yes. Either one of you guys.
There you go, Caleb.
Eric Logan.
Eric Logan.
Yep, that's one of my fellow D linemen. Definitely some great things. Jack Deerle, Deuce Owens, both of them great wide receivers.
How about you, Braxton? Who else on this team is going to have to step up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Braden Smith is one of the guys that this guy. I think he'll have an awesome year. Nick Quiet. He'll chip in a lot. Mark Worthington, he's another guy that's coming back for us. I don't know if you already said Gio, but Gio Garcia, another guy. New guy, Prescott Horvath, another big kid. I think he'll do a lot of damage for us too.
Mike, when you look at the names that the boys mentioned, is there anybody else that you can think of off the top of your cranium that says, hey, listen, that's the core group that's really going to be our leaders? And, but, I mean, there's always a kid, maybe a younger kid in your group that, hey, listen, this guy could really – he's got a tremendous amount of potential. You got any of those younger guys on that group?
They hit the nail on the head for the most part. We got 22 seniors with, I think, 2 years ago, I think almost 18 of them were getting significant time, if not starting. So we're going to rely heavily on them. But there's a few juniors that have stepped in and I think solidified their roles. John Dubash up front on the offensive line I think he's had one of the better summers on our team and solidified his role. Caden Lee on the defensive line has done a really good job as well. And then a couple of the seniors, I know you asked for younger guys, but Quinn Roan and Cooper Sooth, and they've Quinn's started about 2.5 years now, and then Cooper started for off and on last year. I think they've both just solidified and gotten more comfortable in their roles out at corner. A little bit more confident, and so we're expecting big things out of all of them.
Don't forget you can watch Marion football all season long here on Regional Radio Sports. J.P. Gilbert, the legendary voice of the Notre Dame hockey team, will have all the play-by-play throughout the course of the season along with Coach Mike Rock, so you can check that out. Mike, as always, great to hang out with you tonight. Looking forward to being a part of what we anticipate is going to be a great year for this night's program, and I know that great things are on the horizons for your kids as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Paul. We always love being a part of it.
All right. Thanks, boys, for taking time. Once again, Caleb and Braxton, great to be with you here tonight. When we come back up after the timeout, we're going to talk Lions football as Elkhart is on the clock, as they say. We'll be back here with more of our continuing coverage of the 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Indiana Football Digest's Kickoff Classic from Beef O'Brady's. Our show being presented in part by Harrison Sons Construction. We'll be back with more right after this on Regional Radio Sports. Welcome back here on Regional Radio Sports. I'm Paul Condry. Thanks for joining us. Thanks again to my team doing all the great work behind the scenes. Tanner Camp, Fred Maxey, Tiny Condry, taking care of all the details. And thanks, as always, to Cormac doing the work at the studios at 91.1 FM The Globe. We're going to switch gears, and we're going to move over to Elkhart County as Javon Curry's going to spend some time with us. Coach, first of all, I know this is your very, very first time being a part of this. Now, just to put this in historical context now, this is my 32nd time I've done this. And
Amazing.
So this is not my first rodeo, but the older I get, sometimes I feel like it's my first rodeo.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Hopefully I'm here for as long as you've been here. So
all right.
That's the plan.
Well, I know that the talk of the town was that you were the guy that there was, and I'm saying this just because I have some friends that live in Elkhart saying that this is a guy that everybody was really, really excited about and thought when the last coaching change happened that you were going to be one of the guys that they thought were going to get the job, but you didn't. But you hung around and you took care of the business, and now you're the head coach. And I know that's a little backstory. It could be true, could not be true. But now that you're here, now that you're the head coach, how you feeling, man?
And I feel great. Great group of kids. Again, I did apply for it when it opened 2 years ago, and just wasn't my time, but things worked out. I learned a lot those 2 years, and I'm excited that I get to lead the program now and got a good group of kids with me.
I tell you what, a very talented group coming back, and I know expectations are high. And I know he's not here because he had some family scenarios, but really excited to see my buddy Marion Dye. He was a member of the Indiana Football Digest Primetime 25, and what a great young man. I had a chance to spend some time with him at the Gritties. What a great kid. How about that for a guy to build around?
Yeah, he is a great kid. I'm glad to have him anchoring our defense. He's a great team player, teammate, big boy. I mean, I think he was 6'6", 270 when we weighed in the other day, so yeah, he's going to be a load up front for sure.
Yeah, he's going to create nightmares for everybody who's going to have to do that. So let's talk about taking over as being a head coach. And what were some of the first 4 or 5 things that you said, I'm going to put my stamp on this program. This is it's my once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What were some things that you came into camp, Coach Curry, and said, this is my signature stuff?
The biggest thing was building it from the ground up, so making sure our feeder programs were aligned with what we're doing at the high school and just changing the culture, the energy in our weight room. Our schemes have changed a bit, and we're going to be exciting defensively. We're going to be multiple on offense. Got these 2 studs helping us on the offensive side of the ball, but just being more consistent and building it from the ground up and having a program and culture that's going to be there for years to come.
Well, I know when it's all said and done, we've talked about Marion Dye being back, but the 2 young men who's going to be with us here today, wearing the gold long sleeve shirt here closest to Coach Kerr, is Cade Tyrakowski and also Quinn Rost on the other end. I hope I got that right. Did I get that all right? All right, make sure. Give us an idea, guys. Anytime there's a coaching change, and I mentioned this to the Jimtown guys, anytime there's a coaching change, you find yourself in a situation where you're thinking, oh, my goodness, what's going to happen? And you all thought about it. I mean, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, are they going to bring us some guy who's, I don't have a clue on who he's going to be? And
right,
I mean, so all that apprehension, all that anxiety, call it whatever you want. I think you guys are tough enough to be able to see through that. But what were some things, and let me start with you, Quinn, down there. What was your first thought when you thought, hey, listen, Robinson's gone, got a new guy coming in, but you don't know who it's going to be. What did you do to rally the troops?
I think just having trust in the coaching staff, honestly. There's a lot of guys that are on our coaching staff now that were last year, and guys that our players have been able to build relationships with starting like freshman year in high school and even when we were younger. There's a lot of these coaches that coached UIFL, which is our tackle football league, and they've been around us since we were little kids, and so we know them. And I think it's just having that trust factor. They've been around Elkhart, and we know them, and so as players, you just look up to them, you trust them, and you respect them.
How about you, Cade? What were some of your feelings when it all went down?
Initially, I was shocked. I feel like a lot of people were, but I didn't stress a whole lot. There might have been a little bit of panic, but I knew that we would have a lot of our coaching staff who we had last year come back, and a lot of us wanted Curry as our new head coach.
And then when he was announced as the head coach, did you guys do jumping jacks, or what did you guys do?
Pretty much.
Pretty much jumping jacks around?
Yep.
All right. Well, good to hear that. So now you got your wish, as you made your life a living, wonderful place to be, right?
Wonderful. It made it great. Fantastic.
It's been good. So how different is he from being an assistant coach to a head coach?
He's just more vocal. I mean, nothing really has changed about him, personally, to me, he's still Coach Curry. He's been Coach Curry my whole life. He hasn't treated us any differently. He treats all of us like his own son, and it's really a family bond, and it's great.
That is an amazing testament, Coach Curry. Your thoughts on that? Tell you what, that would make my heart sing.
And that was the biggest thing for me on our staff too. When I brought the staff in, is our rule number one is treat every kid on the team like he's your son. And I've watched these boys grow up. I mean, they're coaches' kids. Known Quinn's mom and dad for a while, with them being the AD and the baseball and volleyball coach, and Jeff, me and Cade's dad, Jeff, coached together for years. Like it's a family vibe, and like they said, it's hard. I got to be hard on them sometimes, but I'm gonna love them up too, like they're my own son. So that's our program's number one thing. Like, you coach for me, you're gonna treat everybody like they're your son.
Well, you guys are going to have to get ready and play some big boy football. Concord's a pretty good group. That's going to be the season opener. Give us an idea, if you can, Cade, from your perspective, on that Minutemen squad. And you guys got to be able to step up and play tough.
Well, for me, I'm ready. I'm hungry because last year, unfortunately, I suffered 2 concussions in a week, so that I had to sit out that first week, so I didn't get to play in that game. So this will be my first time playing them since my sophomore year, so I'm ready for that. And they're a good group. And but I feel like if we do what we need to do, then we will win that game.
You had some move-ins come in, Quinn, and anytime you get guys moving in from different programs, things can it's going to do one of two things. It's going to tear your team apart, or it's going to build your team up. So let's talk about you had a couple kids transfer in from Mishawaka. Give us an idea on how the transfers have helped your squad.
Yeah, honestly, it was probably harder for them just to get acclimated than it was for us as a team, because I think for them coming in, they wanted to earn their respect and they wanted to work and show that they were worth it. And I think as guys, we saw them work in the weight room, and that immediately proved it to us that they were ready to go. And I think it didn't matter where you came from or where you wanted to go. Like, we all have the same common goal, and that's to win. So I think if we're on that, then we're going to be just fine.
Quinn, while I got you here on the hot spot, give us an idea on from your perspective as a team captain. Are you going to be a holler guy, or are you going to be a guy who gets in somebody's kitchen, and you got to be a guy who's just going to go out there and lead by example? Which kind of captain are you going to be?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to wear all those hats sometimes.
Very good point.
And it's probably, like, these guys are my buddies. I see them at school every day. Like, some of them I've known since I was a little kid, and it's like, but you have to have that fine line of like, listen, I care about you, and this is why I'm getting on you. I got on one of our guys the other day, and it's just one of those things where it's like, I do it because I care about you, and I want you to be the best you can. And in fact, he came up to me after practice, and he thanked me for it. And that's one of the things I've seen in the growth of our team. It's like these guys really want to get better, and me getting on them, they're not going to talk back and give me lip. It's just they want to get better. They know what the common goal is, and we're all working towards it.
Kate, is there a guy on the Lions football team that you think is going to have a breakout year, or a couple guys? Is there anybody on that roster that we haven't mentioned so far here today that's going to be really special?
Q and Fred, Frankie Willis, Quinn, myself, obviously our 3 D1 guys on our D-line. Those are some of the main group, but really everybody's going to.
Coach Curry, you want to add to that?
No, he hit it on the head. Keelan Fred has played tremendous for us this summer at H and slot, and Frankie's a good one. And we got some guys on the defensive side. Ben Cole is going to do some big things for us. Anthony Leonard, Cross Jones come over. He's Coach Jones. He's our new DC. His son is
he's good.
Dude, he's a stud too. So we got a couple guys that are going to be some breakout. Chase Buzzard. So, and these 2 guys are going to light it up on the offense. I mean, they've been working their butt off, and I'm excited to see everything come together for us.
Well, we want to wish you best of luck here today. And one of the things I wanted to do for you today, my good friend Ryan Lutz, who wrote this book, Rooted Influence. I'm sure you've seen it in the Indiana Football Digest. I want to present one of those autographed copies of Rooted Influence for you. Great football story. I think you'll love it. Make sure you pass it along to the guys. I know a couple college coaches who I know for a fact. As a matter of fact, my good friend Mike Kirshner down at Ben Davis read it in one sitting. He sat down and he put together his own study for his entire team. We're going to go over the book. It's a great football story. I think you guys will enjoy it. So
thank you.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And we'll be back with more of our continuing coverage. The Lions of Elkhart have been here with us from Beef O'Brady's. We'll come back, and I think we have on the dais, we're going to be talking with Corey Stoner and the Fairfield Falcons. They're up on the next. We'll be back with more right after this 2-minute timeout on 91.1 FM The Globe, globeradio.org, and rrsn.com. Welcome back here on Regional Radio Sports. My name is Paul Condrick, along with Tanner Camp. A special thanks goes out to Fred Maxey, Tyne County, for the great work. And, of course, I know that many of you are out there following along. We'll turn on over to page 175 in your Indiana Football Digest. If you're following along with us, my good friend Corey Stoner is here from Fairfield High School. Great to have Corey with us. Corey, last time we had a chance to visit, you were here in a completely different capacity as the head coach at Jimtown. You and I have known each other a long time. I'm going to take a sidebar away from the Fairfield Falcon and the move over there, but I know there was a young man on this program a couple minutes ago who we've all known since he was born, and we're talking about Ty Zartman. I had a chance to do your baseball games when you were in college at Bethel. We got to know each other then, and how neat is it to see Seth Zartman's little boy, Ty, grow up into the man that he's become. And second part of that is going on mission trips. I know I was excited to be able to help support that initiative. Is that a neat thing for us, you and me?
That's awesome. You know, that's why you do what you do, and to build those relationships, and to hear how proud he was to talk about his missions trip. You know, I was listening in there, and you could almost see the proud chest through the microphone as he talked about what he's doing. I know Seth and Anitra are super proud of him, as they should be.
Well, I know for you, this was an emotional move because you've been around these guys their whole lives, but you had a great opportunity. Fairfield was hot in pursuit to come out and get a guy that was a culture guy. And so talk about the difficult decision, because it certainly was, but a good one when it's all said and done.
Yeah, well, first of all, Paul, thanks for doing what you're doing. All these interviews all in a row, a little bit longer drive up here, so I got to listen to a few more of them on the way up. This is just outstanding stuff, so thank you for all you guys doing this stuff. But as for the transition, it was a difficult decision, and one that I made. I chose, and when I met these guys, I chose to make that move. I wanted to be there with them and ask them to come along with me, and they haven't flinched. And a big reason for that is these two guys sitting next to me have provided outstanding leadership. The entire senior class has made really the transition smooth, and they want to make the most of this moment.
Well, one thing about it, they had a pretty good coach the year before. Matz did a great job when he was there, so it's not like they're going from a guy who didn't know what he was doing, because they were well stocked and well thought of. So give us an idea as you make the transition from A to B, on knowing that the kids that you're going to be taking over had some great fundamentals underneath their belt.
Yeah, absolutely. And the system of offense that they ran is a very complex one, and takes very great discipline, which is a big piece of any offense and one of our key characteristics. And so some of that foundation was absolutely there. The physicality, the grittiness, the boys have that. They've had that. And we just wanted to build upon that with that. And coming in and seeing the size of kids and the athletic ability get you pretty fired up as a football coach.
Well, I know one of the things that you want to be able, your kids to, your student athletes to be good citizens. You want them to be people that you feel that you and your wife would like their kids, your children, to hang around with.
Yeah, and they do hang around my children, and that's been really cool just to see them just accept my family as theirs. And anytime my kids come around, they pull them in, they have fun with them. These two guys were both youth camp leaders, and Hunter's running no huddle spread offense, scoring 75 a game, making sure everybody gets a touch, and Brooks is down there with the little kids, making sure they're having a blast. And so they're leaders, and that carries on and off the field. And Paul, that's a core concept for me.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's bring in Brooks Custer. He's wearing the ball cap down at the end there. Hunter is wearing the white shirt right next to Corey. For those of you who are challenged on the radio and knowing we're going from left to right on your radio dial, but to those of you who are at video, you're right on top of things. All right, Brooks, let me start with you. It's always a difficult scenario, and I've had this conversation with three other groups of kids tonight. Coaches leaving, guy who I've spent my whole life with, my senior year he's leaving. What were your feelings? It's like, oh my goodness, why me? Or was there lots of anxiety? Was there lots of fear? Lots of, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And the second part of the question is, has Corey come in and give you that piece that you needed, that you were hoping for?
Yeah, I mean, it's always like a little bit of a scary thing when your old coach leaves and you don't know what to expect. You have no idea what kind of coach is going to come in. You don't know what type of offense, defense, anything you're going to run. And like you said before, Coach Sacker left us in a good position. And luckily, we're fortunate enough to have Coach Stoner here who just picked us up in stride and helped us to keep moving forward. And like you said before, you've known him all your life, and he's a great guy, and he's a great coach too, who's helped us keep moving forward and progressing.
Hunter, what were your thoughts when you got the news that Matt was to take the job at Wawasee, and there was a few weeks there. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was like a little scary because like he's been your coach your whole life, and like all of a sudden for a couple weeks you don't have a head football coach. Everything's kind of in shambles. But I think Coach Stoner did a good job coming in, like settling everybody down. And when it comes down to it, we just want to play football, and Coach Stoner's enthusiastic, and he coaches the type of football we like to play. We like to play hard-nosed football, so that's good.
Corey, I know that you're a big fan of multi-sport athletes, and both these boys are multi-sports. Brooks plays basketball. Hunter's a wrestling and baseball guy. Can you speak to the fact that at a 3A school, the dynamics of how important it is that everybody's playing everything? I don't care if you're going to be a part of the band, you're going to be part of the choir, you're going to be part of the play. I mean, some of the things that you have to be involved in. You have to have that whole school embodiment of let's do everything together.
Yeah, it's kids like this, like Brooks and Hunter, that are going to take Fairfield to new heights, that are getting involved in all of the athletic events that they can, extracurriculars that they can. These guys really embody what it means to be in a community school. It makes you proud to carry them out into public and say, hey, these are my guys. These are the guys that represent us. And getting involved in all that stuff obviously makes them better athletes, and I think all that comes back to the sport that you're coaching. But it's really about them and getting the most out of their high school experience while they've got it.
Corey, what was the most difficult thing for you once you got there? Was it selecting coaches? Was it establishing offensive, defensive technique, or was it terminology? There are so many different variables that you had to go through in the transition. It wasn't just the athletes having to make the transition. You had to go through and select the guys who fit what you wanted for your program, because it's a program.
Oh my goodness, the amount of decisions and forethought that you put into it. You think you lay everything out, Paul. You like, I've got it all right here. We're going to make these decisions, and then you get in and you just start doing spring ball, and you realize, I better teach them how to huddle. They hadn't huddled. They've been on wristband and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to get in and start doing formations and plays and getting after it, and we needed to walk through the huddle. Just getting lined up in the huddle was just kind of that instant reminder, like, hey, don't overlook those little things, those little details that make the biggest of differences. But I'm not sugarcoating this. I'm not saying it because they're sitting here. I've said it to everyone who's asked. The senior group has really made this a smooth transition. I'm not fighting anything in the locker room. These guys are handling all that. They're bringing everybody along with it, and the buy-in has been outstanding, and that's a huge testament to their leadership.
All right, Brooks, you're going to, a couple years under your belt as a starting quarterback. So I'm going to have you talk about the offense. We're going to have Hunter talk about the defense since he's a linebacker. I know he does. I know he plays both ways, but let's talk about the Fairfield Falcons offense. Who's going to have a great year for you guys so your team has a great year on the offense?
Yeah, you always know it comes down to everybody has to do their job. It starts on the O-line and it drifts back to the running backs and everything like that. But we have some great ball carriers. I'll shout a couple of them out. Blake Metzger and Brecken Moran. Those are both guys who know how to run the ball and are very gritty and disciplined in running the ball. And then up front we have some, all-around great offensive line. They're all discipline, and they're working towards what we need to get our goals to succeed. So all around, it's just everybody comes into play. Wide receivers, Casey Hirschberger, Jackson Henry, guys like that. They all help us to make a great team win together.
I mean, you've got to be just like calm, cool, and collected now. Because this is going to be your third year, so it's like I've seen it all, right? But or is it a little different because of the offensive change? You tell me.
Yeah, I'm really not one that gets super nervous going into games, but with something different like this, right at the beginning, it's like, okay, we got to figure this out. And once you learn the offense and understand how it all works, it's really simplified in your mind, and it just helps you to relax and understand the game and think the game more. And you don't have to worry about it. It's just kind of natural at that point.
All right, Hunter, talk about the Falcons' defense. Who's going to have to step up?
Well, honestly, we got a lot of new guys. 3 of our defensive linemen this is their first year starting. They're juniors, so we need to see how they react to a real life, varsity football game. Because we don't know how they're going to react, but I have confidence that they'll do well. 2 corners, they're new. They haven't played before. We got some experience at the linebacker position. Me and Brecken Moran. We got Warren. He's new. Safety Blake Metzger. He's played before, and maybe Cole McLeod at the other safety if he comes back from But yeah, so he's new. So I mean, there's a lot of new people on our defense, but we take pride in our defense and we play hard, and that's what it's all about. I feel on defense.
You look at the schedule. You're opening up on the road at Goshen, Heritage, Jimtown, Culver, 3 straight home games, Corey. And then you take a couple road trips. Give us an idea as you look at the landscape of your schedule. A lot of different teams. So these are all new experiences for you. So that's another new dynamic. Is that something that you're really embracing, or is it something that's like, oh, my, I got a little bit more extra work to do now?
It's exciting. It's, you click on the film and you're going to see different looks that maybe you only saw once every 4 years in a sectional or something like that. We've played a lot of those teams. I have experience against those teams, but not on a yearly basis that they're going to have now. And our schedule really is, again, a tip of the cap to Coach Thacker, who really worked hard to put together a very solid schedule that's going to test us in a lot of different ways. And I've heard several coaches say this, you want to see where your flaws are. We're going to scrimmage Tippy Valley tomorrow night. He mentioned a bunch of new kids on the defensive line. That's at the top of my list. I want to see what happens when they get punched back. You're going to get that with Tippy Valley. And our schedule really lays that out as well each week. And the conference is going to be a slugfest. Any one of those teams has a shot to win that conference this year.
And I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about week 3. That'll be the most emotional week, not only for you, but it'll be an emotional week against the kids that you help put in a position to be successful at Jimtown. You got a little butterflies in that one, maybe?
That's week 3. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But
there we go. Some official coach speak. I like it.
Get to it, but Yeah, we'll cross that one later.
Well, best of luck to your family, guys. You guys have got an absolute winner as a head coach. I can tell you that. I've known him for, like I said, probably 20 years. He is an absolute gamer. As I hope you understand what I mean by that. He was prepared every time he showed up at the ballpark. He is a good one. You guys are going to enjoy this senior year. Trust me, okay?
Thanks, Paul.
Yep. All right, Corey Stoner and the Fairfield Falcons. We're going to take a quick timeout. We're going to come back with more of the 32nd annual. Corey, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's
a lot of interviews.
That's
a lot of interviews.
I started thinking about that, and that's like, oh, my goodness, that's make a head explode. 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Indiana Football Digest Kickoff Classic, being presented in part by Horizon Bank, McDonald Physical Therapy, and Ronald McDonald House, Leard Insurance, Beef O'Brady's Cuban Networks, and Harris and Sons Construction. We'll be back in 2 minutes on 91.1 FM The Globe and www.rrsn.com. Sports. I'm Paul Condry. Thanks for taking time to join us here today. Thanks again to Tiny Condry and Fred Maxey for their great support of our broadcast here today. And thanks to all the coaches. Just a privilege to talk to these guys. And Tanner, I know that you've been hanging around me for 5 years now, and I've been doing it for before you've been born, 32 for just. And if you're going to count the radio, we're talking nearly 40 years. But my favorite part is getting to know and spend time with coaches and spending time with people who I have a tremendous amount of respect. I know what it's like to have coaches influence you in a positive way. I've had some coaches back in my days when I was growing up at Hobart, coaches that helped transform my life, put me in a position. They challenged me, gave me opportunities to be successful. In addition to that, put me in positions where they challenged me. And I'm so grateful to the coaches that we've had along the way. And I think back on some of the legacy coaches that we've had over the course of our many, many years doing these shows, both in Northwest Indiana, which we will have our show over there on Monday, as well as the shows here. But to listen to Nate Andrews talk about his dad, the legendary Jim Andrews, and just how proud he is being Jim Andrews' son, and justifiably so, and how proud of his brother being a college coach. And we hear the same type of things from Corey Stoner when he talked about Seth Zartman, the baseball coach at Bethel, who he had a chance to study under. And you go up and down the line, Keith Kinder, who of course played for the legendary Bill Sharp, Cody Vincent, who also played for Bill Sharp. And these guys, all these guys have been along the way. Mike Davidson, who's down the way here having dinner right now, but he had a chance to be a part of the great career of Reggie Glahn when Reggie was the coach at Marion. So we have some generational human beings who changed the lives of these kids. I call them kids because at 67, I have children of my own that are younger than they are. And that in itself is scary, but it is such a great thing for me to see and hear how much they respected those guys who put them in a position to be successful. I have a tremendous amount of respect for those guys.
Well, and one of my favorite sayings, and I've told you this before, a good coach can change the game, but a great coach can change your life. And that really holds true to that. The reality is, yes, the X's and O's and whatever sport it may be, but the reality is, and when you think about it from a kid's perspective and you think from a parent's perspective, you want that coach to be able to say, I want them to take, in this case, my son or my daughter, and I want to make sure that they are ready for the next phase, whether they decide to go at the next level and play college and maybe even professional, but most importantly, are they ready for life outside, whether they go to college, whether they decide to go ahead and get a jump start in their careers, whatever the case may be. But what you want is that your coaches are going to be able to set you up for success, and you and I both have had great coaches over the course of my lifetime and your lifetime too, and I think that's so important with that, because you want your coaches to be able, again, to help you teach. I mean, you've taught me so much, and I'm fortunate to be in the position that I'm at right now, but it also goes on stuff that's outside of the broadcast booth, and that's exactly what the difference is when you know there's a good coach and a great coach. And you mentioned it, guys like Nate Andrews, guys like Corey Stoner, and guys like Mike Davidson, they get their kids ready for no matter what happens, whether they play football or whether they're ready to move on to the next phase of life, they are going to be successful in their respected field.
There's a guy that's part of this broadcast tonight that a lot of people, as a matter of fact, nobody knows who he is. And that's Cormac Kuplichty, who's back at the studios of 91.1 FM. He has the chance to study under one of the greatest coaches I've ever been around, and that's Jason Samuel, who has transformed 91.1 FM, the Globe, in one of the premier radio stations in America. And I was blessed that when Jason's first job, when he graduated from Goshen College, was to work for me. So he worked for me for a handful of years and got a chance to know Jason. And whether you are a football coach or if you're running like Mark does here at Beef O'Brady's, or my good friend at Cuban Networks, Ryan Seberg, and I look at Mark at Beef O'Brady's, and I look at Fran McDonald at McDonald Physical Therapy. These guys are some of our sponsors, but they're also head coaches in the real world, and they all the legacy that they have had is absolutely phenomenal when it's all said and done, how they have transformed their own businesses because of their athletic experience or the coaches that they've had in their lives. Whether you're coaching 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, or if you're coaching college kids, or you're coaching guys in the NFL, everybody has an opportunity to coach somebody somewhere in the course of their existence as a human being on this earth. And I think if everybody kind of went into the mindset that I want to make an impact in someone else's life, I'm going to take that initiative to do that. And I think God has given all of us an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of someone. It's up to us to take advantage of it and honor God with your gifts and your talents, and try to show the best that you can be by putting that and spending time and gleaning that into someone who may be younger and maybe even older. You just never know.
Well, and Paul, when you think about it, especially nowadays, even think of your high school kids, if they're at youth camps. I was fortunate during my high school days that, I was a coach for a team of first graders one time, and the only thing I taught them was, we did a couple X and O's, but it's like, you just got to promise you're going to play hard, and most importantly, you're going to have fun. If you're not having fun, then don't even try with that. The reality is, if you're not working hard, if you don't, in our cases, if you're not waking up and just blessed of what you get to do, then you need to move on and do what you need to. And I remember one kid who ended up changing his basketball jersey number. I know we're pivoting from football to basketball. He changed it to 44 and wore it throughout the rest of his high school career because that was my number in high school. And that's why opportunities to coach come as young, some in middle school, but mostly in high school with youth camps, and you never know when it makes a huge difference. And obviously for some of these coaches, they got their start almost immediately out of college or just recently out of high school, and that's when you never know, because the impact that you can make on those kids' lives, look at the number of people, that the impact that you've made. I know I've learned so much about myself, again, just not from the broadcasting side, but from myself. I feel like I've grown thanks to the great people like you or whoever the case of under any leadership that I was, and it's thanks to the other great coaches I've had, whether it was Scott Krieger at Fort Wayne Canterbury or whoever the case may be. But it's such a blessing whenever you get that opportunity to coach, because it gives you a chance to give back. And I will never forget when I got that card from the parents who said, you are his hero and you have inspired him to be a better person. And those are the moments that make you feel better than the points they score, the wins or losses they have, but just knowing you made an impact is one of the greatest gifts that you can give to anyone.
Coming up on the program still tonight, Ben Downey is in the house. We'll be talking to Ben here momentarily. His team is going to be opening up at Lakeland. Also coming up on the program tonight, we should hear from Pete Reardon, who's got the dubious distinction having to take over after Corey Yeoman. Well, that's a tough road for anybody to have to travel. And then the legendary Craig Kaler is coming in from Dunlop. We'll talk with Craig about his team. He's got a great player in Jerron Thomas. I'm hoping we'll get a chance to visit with him. But just a quick mention, don't forget, coming up on Monday, if you like what we're doing here tonight, we'll go back home to where it was home for me in Northwest Indiana, where I grew up. We're going to be in Valparaiso at a place called Peddler's Pizza. Probably we're going to do the exact same thing, except we're going to be on our flagship station of Regional Radio Sports. I've been on that radio station for over 25 years. Well, we'll be there at 5 East Lincoln Way in Valparaiso. That'll be 5:30 Central Time is what our time will be for that show. We'll be talking with the likes of Valparaiso, Chesterton, Maryville, Hobart, Lowell, Kankakee Valley, Crown Point, just to name a few, LaPorte, Michigan City, all those kind of schools.
Prairie, yep.
New Prairie, one of the top teams in that geographical area. So we'll be talking with those teams coming up on Monday as we'll wrap up our preseason coverage. And then, of course, on Friday, opening day Friday, 6 games on Regional Radio Sports. It's a really special night. I know that my opening game, I believe I have Hobart at Chesterton. We've got Valparaiso at Penn. Also on the card, I know, Tanner, you'll be making the call on that one. We have Kankakee Valley against Crown Point. We've got Marion and Mishawaka coming up, just to name a few of some of the games that we have going on. So we're going to take a quick timeout, come back, and we're going to talk to the head coach of the St. Joe Indians, Fupon number 1. They're not the Indians anymore. They're the Husky Indians. I don't know how many times guys on the broadcast teams are going to have to go through that. The St. Joe Huskies are on the clock, and we'll be back with Ben Downey right after that, barring that Davidson and Downey don't punch each other out here in front of us. They're not going to do that. They're going to be good boys here today. As a matter of fact, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Ben is going to open the door for Mike, and how wonderful a sight to see that was. All right, we're going to be back with more of our continuing coverage of the 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Indiana Football Digest Kickoff Classic, live from Beef O'Brady's. Oh, just a quick programming reminder. We'll be back here again on Thursday with our regular coaches box. We'll be on the other side of the partition here. We'll be able to do that next week. I think Tony Natale will be joining us here, the athletic director at Bethel University, and Ryan Lutz, who wrote this amazing book called Rooted Influence. He'll be with us coming up 1 week from today from 6 to 7 Eastern Time. We'll take a 2-minute timeout and come back with more right after this on Regional Radio Sports. Welcome back here on Regional Radio Sports. My name is Paul Condry. As always, great to hang out with you. We're hitting the backstretch here of our program here, the 32nd Annual Regional Radio Sports Indiana Football Digest Kickoff Classic. And a special thanks again to our sponsors, Harrison Sons Construction, along with Cubit Networks, Beef O'Brady's, Lear Insurance Agency, Ronald McDonald House, McDonald Physical Therapy, Horizon Bank, just to name of the few of the particulars that we're going to have here today. And great to have Ben Downey with us here today. And Ben, I know you're going to have to get with this. I've already had Fupon number 1. The St. Joe Huskies are now is the name versus the St. Joe Indians. I'm not going to get into that, but as a guy who grew up and went to South Bend, St. Joe, and you were the Indians, I think it was probably a little bit of a change, good, bad, or indifferent. You absolutely care less.
Are you telling me you don't want to talk about politics and culture?
No,
that doesn't sound like fun.
It doesn't
no,
sound.
I'm just kidding. So it's been a wild ride. Most people who attended St. Joe, they got used to being the Indians, and they never ever intended for it to offend anybody. So it's really important that people know that the people that were the Indians, the St. Joe Indians, they were very proud of it, and their intentions were good.
Sure.
A lot has changed since St. Joe initially took that name, and so then I was also part of the process. So I got to sit and I got to listen to members of the Pokagon tribe come in and kind of share their views on things. So I actually was behind the scenes in regards to stuff like that. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, however people feel about it, it was educational for me to hear that the Pokagon tribe said, we don't refer to each other as Indians. So, again, I'm not going to, jump into my personal views, but I did learn quite a bit through the process.
Did it change your mind?
Well, it's tough. It made me more open to it because I would never want to call someone something they don't want to be called. The tricky part is just like so many things in society, you can't nail down how everyone feels. So there were plenty of Native Americans who expressed gratitude for people being the Indians and kind of felt like that kind of kept their name around. But there are also just a ton that said, the consequences were pretty bad for, young people, kind of just being viewed as like a mascot. So, it was just really educational for me, and, change is tough, but at the very least, whether people like the change or not, I think that, most people, if they knew what was going on behind the scenes, at least heard that there was a lot of communication going on and a lot of learning going on.
Well, I'm grateful that you shared that with us because, I know, and I can use this a couple case in points because I'm of that same lineage, and so I understand that, even though it's way, way down in my bloodline, down to which would be my great-grandmother. I understand the dynamics. I grew up hearing stories of those kind of things, and at 67, I'm at the age now where I'm pretty set in my ways just about everything, as you can imagine that I am. But I will say this, what the Chicago Blackhawks have done over the course, and as a lifelong Blackhawk fan and a former season ticket holder, I can tell you this, in my many, many years of following the Blackhawks, I love what the Blackhawks have done in embracing the roots of the Blackhawk tribe. And I think that there's a way to do it. And I think by what you're telling me, by sitting down and talking to everybody, I have a completely different thought going into this because you guys did that. Because I didn't know any of that behind-the-scenes stuff happened. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, so what we didn't want was a bunch of people that have nothing to do with the Pokagon tribe telling us what to do based on what was going on throughout the country. The Blackhawk situation and a lot of the mascots for specific tribes and colleges, because I really looked into this because I was pretty passionate about things. When you have a specific person or a specific tribe, that helps your odds, of being able to keep the name. But it also helps when you genuinely appreciate what it is and celebrate it. So a lot of the colleges that have been able to stick with their tribes, they do various things to teach about that tribe and to celebrate the tribe. So it's more than just using the name. You make like a true connection, which is what it sounds like the Blackhawks did.
Yeah. Huskies, the new name.
Yep.
Is that something that's been readily embraced by the school thus far?
To be honest, that was just another source of division. So not only did you have a community that, some people thought it needed to be changed and some people thought that it needed to remain the same, but then we, opened up a couple of options, and then, it narrowed down to like 3 choices. So once again, our community was kind of divided, like, half the people wanted Rams, many of which in honor of Father Bly, and then a number of people also wanted the Huskies. So, when it was announced, it was impossible to please everyone, but I will say this. Coach Gaff and the St. Joe basketball team, they made it official, and they made it something that people really embraced and got behind with that playoff run. Had that not happened, I'm not sure how fired up everyone would have been, but for the first time ever, I don't know if you knew this, but for like 5 to 10 years, there was never a cheer about Indians. So the student body was kind of just, kind of generic and kind of had nothing to really cheer for and get excited about. So just the fact that we had this really talented, explosive basketball team and we finally had like cheers that the crowd could do, it changed everything. And so since then, I believe everybody's embraced it.
All right. Well, we're going to wish you best luck in the future in that. I know for you, I look back on all the years that I've known you, and I know that you look back on your group, and I know you're excited because you got a great group of kids coming back. 20-plus seniors, at least, that are certainly going to try to help you improve on a 4-6 record a year ago. I know that you probably learned a lot about your football team in the 52-10 loss to Northwood, but Northwood taught a lot of people a bunch of lessons in the postseason en route to the state championship game. So as you look back on last year's group, and with all those guys coming back, what do you think they learned from last year's journeys?
Well, so every year we've, since I guess this is only the 3rd year, but each year we've progressed culturally as a program. And what the seniors have learned, and especially these 2 gentlemen next to me, is they've just really embraced the concept of discipline and hard work. So I consider these guys old school tough. I consider them throwback players that you could have dropped off at 1441, the old school. And that's about as good a compliment as I could give anyone. So essentially they just learned that every single little thing matters, and consistency matters, and toughness matters, and accountability matters.
All right, we've got Luke Short. He'll be down there on the far end of your broadcast for those of you who are watching on the live stream. And then we got Brady here next to us. So let's talk about Brady, captain. Give us an idea on what it's like being named the captain of your high school football team.
I mean, it's nice just being able to lead as a team, just with not just me, but all the other seniors, especially Luke next to me. And we got a whole group of people together, really just working together. And just helping everyone else build the discipline together, because we got a lot of good underclassmen, and just to get them working is really how we're going to be able to win and get those losing records and those close losses last year we had, just get them to be wins, really.
You look back on it, and you did. You lost several of those close games, and games a 3-point loss here and a 5-point loss. So that's the difference. Instead of going 4-6, you turn those things around. That's a 1 play here, a 1 play there. Instead of talking about a winning record versus a record where you're behind the 8 ball at 4-6. With a big senior class, and I know Ben, this is Ben's second stint. I should have pointed that out, because he's just jumped back into the pool, if you will, after had taken some time off. Give us an idea on what you've learned from Coach Downey in your time at St. Joe.
Well, I learned a lot more discipline, 100%, I would say, especially for my freshman to sophomore year. With the change of coaches, I know we built a lot better system. I would say especially in the weight room. Once Coach came, we got a lot better structure in there, so we work harder, get stronger, so we can really compete with the bigger schools, because a lot of schools we play on our schedule are bigger than us, and we're one of the smaller 4A schools, so we got to be tough to be able to compete with the Northwoods, Northridge, all those schools.
Luke, give us your thoughts on what's it like playing for Coach Ben Downey.
I think it's great. He brought in new habits. Everyone joined together. Everyone wanted to be a part of the ride, start working harder. We've grown closer as a team. Everybody's wanted it. There's not many stragglers left behind.
when you look at your group collectively, I'm sure offensively and defensively with 20 guys, 20-plus guys coming back, you have to feel really good about your chances to be successful. Tell me what you think you have to do to be successful.
Well, attention to detail. I mean, we can't let the little things go. As you said, a lot of close games. Can't let those happen.
Ben, your thoughts, same thing?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be honest about who you're going against. So many people like to, kind of talk about my two stints as coach. And, my staff and me on an individual level are significantly better. This staff is just unbelievable. The challenge is just that much greater. And to be honest, I got to give a lot of credit to area programs, ADs, principals, strength coaches. I got to give credit to a lot of people because there's some very good football being played around here. So these guys know, there just isn't much room for error when you're competing against the type of teams that we're competing against, especially in our sectional.
I know this probably kind of eats at your craw, but it's been 2015 since there's been a championship trophy in your hands.
Yeah.
And I know you understand the dynamics. You remember 1995 probably like it was yesterday, right?
I sure do remember it well, yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah, one of my teammates is over here talking next.
One of my teammates is right over there. We'll talk about that with him in a moment. But give us your thoughts on what you remember of winning the state championship, and you think back on 2015, and you think with the solid core group of seniors with 20-plus guys, you think this is a team that can make a run?
Well, you asked a few questions there. Which one do you want first?
You knock him down, buddy.
Okay, so what I remember about the state championship, I remember actually just seeing a jumbotron and being like, whoa, man. Like after the play, you could look up and see the replay a little bit. You couldn't look too long because you had another play coming. And then I remember at the end of the game, it was just honestly kind of a strange feeling because for the first time in my career, there wasn't like another game, up to that point, even if it was the end of the year and you lost, you knew you had another season. And so I remember just kind of looking around like, this is just weird. Like I was really excited, but like, this is it. Like, because I knew I wasn't playing in college. So anyway, when I look at a team like this, I mean, I definitely believe that they can make a playoff run. We all have to just be incredibly realistic about how tough the path is because my path to state doesn't come close to what these guys are being asked to do. I anticipate there being 3, maybe 4 teams ranked in the state when sectionals start in 4A. And, when we went to state, we played maybe 3 teams that were good enough to make us nervous. And so the playoff path is significantly different. And so, the way I see 4A is a lot of times your first sectional game in 4A is very comparable to a semi-state game in 3A.
Sure, very much so.
Yeah.
So would you consider it the greatest experience of your lifetime as a football coach, player? Or is it just coaching now?
You know what? It's better if you can get an entire group of other people to experience that. Now, I've only come close. You know what I mean? Actually, I don't have 2 red rings because I don't believe in red rings. But we went down twice and lost. But the fact that they got down there and I got to see how excited they were.
Sure.
If I could ever lead a team and they come back with a blue ring, that would definitely top my individual experience.
So, what would you say to Luke and Brady here right now? That this is something that I experienced as a high school athlete that I want you to experience. What would it be?
Honestly, the way they go about their business is very comparable to the way that I did. On an individual level, people didn't line up and look at me and think, oh, no, we're in trouble. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And they're not going to look at these 2 guys and think the same thing. But in terms of just discipline and, being unselfish and caring about the team, I have more in common with guys like this than a lot of just like big superstars. And I believe, I listen to every single word my coach has said. Coach Amato told us not to have pop in the season, and I literally for 4 years never had a single pop in the season. So anything he said to be great, I was willing to do. And so I would honestly to these guys say, keep it up and thank you, and let's see if we can get other people to act like that.
Do you think Pete Reardon followed the same mindset?
I think he drank a few pops during the season. I'm not quite sure. But I mean,
I'm sure he did.
I mean, I was a little overboard with it. You know what I mean?
And we'll find out in the next segment.
Yeah. We're going to have to dig back and ask his family, man.
Absolutely.
My mom is proof for me.
Luke, Brady, hope you have a great year, guys.
Thank you.
Hang around this dude. He's pretty cool. He ranks high in my. I'd like to spend an hour. So we're going to be over here with the coach's box.
Okay.
So come back and see me on a Thursday night, okay?
That sounds great.
All right, boys.
All right,
Thanks
thank you.
for taking time. We're going to
Thank
come
you.
back, and the Kingsmen are on the clock. I want to say this. The first-year head coach of the Penn Kingsmen, former South Bend St. Joe Indian, Pete Reardon, who's now the coach of Penn, will join us next. We'll be back right after this 2-minute timeout on 91.1 FM Globe and globeradio.org. Back here on Regional Radio Sports, Paul Condry, along with Fred Maxey, also Tanner Camp, who's done a wonderful job, kind of coordinate all of our production here today. Younger guys, gotta love it, gotta love it. Special thanks to Tony Conner, who runs everything. It's really cool having younger people who are so much smarter and so more talented. Pete, and you were that guy for many, many years, the younger, talented guy, and Geese and Corey kind of just depended upon you, but now you're the – ready for this one? You're the tallest hog in the trough. What's it like, man?
Well, so far it's been great. I was the younger one. I wouldn't say I was ever the talented one, but I was entrusted with a lot of responsibility over the years, and hopefully lived up to that. And now that things are what they are, and Corey's retired, and I've been able to step in, things so far have been going really smoothly this summer, and a lot of that has to do with the two guys I got to my right here.
That's total nonsense, ladies and gentlemen, because when he went down to Ben Davis, he just kind of got himself in a position where he was going to be a position coach. Next thing you know, the legendary Dick Delahan puts him in as a coordinator, comes up here, does the same type of stuff. So you've done a great job. So let's go back to that St. Joe story that we were just kidding with Ben. You and Ben grew up together, and you played on the state championship. I have a state championship because I did the state championship game that you played in on Regional Radio Sports. I have a picture of you and the guys down on the field that my buddy Rick Walton took, and I could see Marcus Clayton and you. I could see all you guys very, very clearly in that photo. I'll never forget the looks on your faces, and I'll never forget the following. I think it was the following Thursday. I had a bunch of the guys out. We did like a tribute show, and I'll never forget how exciting and enthusiastic it was. And I know Coach Amato did a wonderful job of bringing that group together. Can you speak to the high school experience and what it was like for you?
For me, the high school experience was amazing. I think it's one of the reasons why I got into coaching. Obviously, Frank had a huge impact on all of us, and that's also one of the reasons why so many of us from our class went into coaching and teaching. Some of us are still obviously doing it. Some may have moved on, but they went into education because we had a great experience. We had a great high school experience. Because of who was leading us, but also because of the guys we had around us. And those are one of the things that I think led a lot of us into coaching. That's one of the things Ben kind of spoke to it in the previous segment about, it's great to have an individual thing, but to be able to help others experience that's really why we got into this. And I would love nothing more to for our seniors this year to be able to have those similar feelings and have that experience together, and that's really what high school football is really all about.
I know you're going to let this kind of question kind of roll off your back, because this comes with the territory, but Chris Giesman and Corey Yeoman, 500 wins. This is the only program in the history of Indiana football that have had two coaches collectively win that many games. This is an amazing situation. And now you're in a position, as a first-year head coach, you're going to have to follow in the footsteps of those two dudes who are two of my best friends in the world. And but I think that you're going to do good at this, because I think sometimes no change is as good as change. And I think they made someone the head coach who's going to keep things the way they were, who's going to follow in the same lines of traditions, and I think you're going to do a good job. That's my opinion.
Well, I hope you're right. Now, with that, to that extent, there is something to be said for continuity. We have a great coaching staff. Very fortunate to have the majority of our coaching staff come back. A few key additions. We have a couple coaches who came back who had been coaching with us that stepped away for a little while themselves, but they're now back with us. And that continuity, I think, has been one of the things that has helped make Penn a stronger program as it has been over the years. Being a part of that, I saw that from a very young age when I first started, right out of college, with guys, you name it, but in particular Don Monhoot and Wally Yeoman, who I volunteered for when I first started coaching, and then as I moved up the ranks, just realizing how good all the assistant coaches are as well, and it's that hasn't changed. I think we have great assistant coaches now, on both sides of the ball, and really excited about that.
One of the things that I look back on the year that Nolan McCullough had, just a tireless student athlete that just did everything. No matter what sport he was going to play, he was going to be good. He was just an absolute winner, an absolute gamer. What a great example for, as your senior last year, to present to your classes coming up. You can say, look at what this guy did. I mean, he didn't woo anybody with his talent. He just worked harder than everybody else. Can you speak to a guy like that who played such a pivotal role in what I think is the culture at Penn?
Well, honestly, it was more than just Nolan. He was, for many people, the focal point. But to be completely honest, that entire class, when they came in as freshmen, after their freshman season was over, they attacked the weight room. Whether it was Nolan, Jake Bayless, Brandon Lynch, Tommy Paulus, Jack and Griffith Gage. All these guys, they absolutely attacked the weight room, and they set the standard. And when they graduated, obviously, there's a void in leadership, and I think our current seniors have picked up and haven't missed a beat. When Corey retired, obviously there was a large amount of uncertainty in the program. These guys, like I said, they didn't blink an eye, and they knew what needed to be done, and they kept at it. And so from that standpoint, I think that class and many classes before them have set the standard, and these guys are living up to it, as they get the opportunity to.
You brought two captains. You have any more captains?
All of our seniors are captains.
Okay.
And that's something that that's been that way at Penn for a long time, and there's a good reason for that. We firmly believe it's a seniors team, and therefore they are the captains, and they're responsible for the locker room. They're responsible for doing all the little things that need to be done. And so far, since they're in early, well, I guess that would have been February through this time period. They've done an outstanding job.
Cole Bennett is on the far end. He's tight end. And Aiden Deal, who's here in the black T-shirt. Once again, two captains. Cole's tight end, and Aiden is a center. Aiden, let me start with you. I know there was a couple weeks there when, after Corey said he's they're going to hang it up, that there was some thoughts like who's going to be my head coach. This is the fourth time I've had this conversation tonight because we've had some coaching changes on our show tonight. So as an athlete, did you have some anxiety? Did you have some fear? Did you have some doubt saying, hey, listen, I always felt confidence no matter who they were going to hire, they're going to hire a dynamic guy, because I know that that's just kind of the way Jerry Thacker runs PHM. I just think he's a tremendous innovator and a tremendous leader from his standpoint. He wants people to win, not only at football, but everything they do over there. So what was your thoughts?
Well, I knew they were going to make the right choice, and I think most of us wanted to coach Pete anyway, so it happened. It was great. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's no doubt.
So no apprehension, no anxiety whatsoever. How about you, Cole? What do you think?
We just know we had so many coaches outside and in that we know even any coach on that staff taking over was going to be the right decision. Just even from our freshman year, we knew all these coaches, they want to be a head coach. They all have the opportunity and the talent to be a head coach.
All right, I'm extremely happy here for Pete, but I want you guys to take me a step back. What was it like being a part of Corey Yeoman's program? And I'm going to hope you don't mind me taking a step back, because Corey's been a lifelong friend, but he's an absolute treasure of a man. What was it? What's your guys' take? Let's start with you, Aiden.
It was great. He was a great coach, and I think he really shaped me and Cole and all the other seniors and the juniors even to how we are now.
Okay, Cole, your thoughts on Corey?
I remember coming into little kids camp and seeing Coach Corey, and I knew I was going to play for him one day. I knew he would give it up till he couldn't do it anymore. So coming in freshman year, he mentored all of us, especially like in the weight room. He was always being ready. And at the end of the year, when we pulled us up to get practice, he knew that we had the potential to be great players.
I know you got a new offensive look, right?
A little bit.
So talk about that.
So Coley Moore, former Penn great, played for us in the mid 2000s. Coley's been coaching been coaching 6A football in Indianapolis pretty much since he graduated college. He's been at Avon, Warren Central, Brownsburg, most recently. But he had he expressed some interest in coming back up, so we started the conversation, and we were able to get him, get Coley and his wife up here, and really appreciate the support of the administration to do that. But anytime you have a chance to step outside of Penn and come back, I think you bring some value to that. I think I did when I had the opportunity to be at Ben Davis and implement some things of my own and come back and learn some more. And I think Coley's doing that. Helping Coley through that process is Trent Yeoman, who I think has just been incredibly gracious and helpful. I can't express how helpful he's been during this process. Trent's one of those guys that has been around for such a long time that he sees the big picture. And he's not someone to tell, hey, this is the way we should do it. He'll say, well, have you considered this? And those types of questions for Coley and the rest of the staff is there's a few changes here and there. I think has been really helpful. So that's again, as a head coach, that's who's spending most of my time on the defense to start with. That's been incredibly helpful.
Pete Reardon, you have lived a charmed life.
I certainly have.
State championship as a high school athlete. You've had a chance to work under some of the greatest coaches in the history of the game. Dick Dullahan, right?
With Dick,
Coach Kirshner was there.
Mm-hmm.
You've had a chance to be around that way that program was. You had a chance to be around this Penn program. What do you want the legacy of your legacy to be at Penn?
Well, to be honest, I hadn't really thought about my legacy. I'm just getting started. I want to have these guys be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to experience, the how great it can be to be a football player at Penn and be a successful football player. But it's more than that. We want, as Cole said, Corey mentored these guys, and I want to have that, be able to do the same thing to, not just to our seniors and juniors, but for everyone that comes through the program, so they have a great experience like many of us did in high school, and then also teach them the things that, the lessons that are going to be learned in playing football carry over, to be successful, husbands and fathers and down the road, It's good to be competitive, and there's a lot to be said about that. But also some of those the life skills that they're necessary to make good young men.
Kellen Watson, a kid that's going to step into your quarterback role, and I know that Vinny Freeman is a pretty good player back on the defensive back. Who else is going to have to step up?
Well, on the offensive side of the ball, we have a lot of guys that have been able to step up. On the offensive line, obviously Aiden's a returning starter. Brody Brown, Gavin McGee, Pat Connery have all done a great job. These guys have real big game experience, so they've done a great job. In addition to Cole's tight end, Harrison Huck, and then we have we think we have some really good skill guys on the outside. With senior Cohen Turner, Tayshawn Bardo, and Jadon Parker, and then we have some juniors who are going to be fighting to see some time that I think could play for a lot of other teams. And then in the backfield, a guy that's just been a great program kid and really his turn to shine is Malachi Evans. He started for me as a sophomore at corner, and then had some injuries and played running back and some tight end last year, and then I think he's going to have a great senior season. Defensively, obviously, Vinny was our starter was our one returning starter from last year. But we have a lot of guys who can step up on the defensive line. Senior J.T. Seeger. Juniors, Christian Bonner, John White, Quinn Watson, Kellen's, younger brother, and then Wilson Thomas is our senior in the middle, who's really doing a great job, and then on the back end, Joey DePalma and Peyton Horner, two seniors who've been standing behind, been playing behind guys, and then some other juniors stepping up like Colton Hernandez and Wrigley Hole. So we're really excited about what we have to offer there.
Valparaiso in the opener. It's been that way for over 2 decades now, and that's a good one. Billy Marshall can coach him up, and then you've got Mishawaka, which always presents all kinds of matchup issues because got to play assignment football. You don't see that all the time. So 2 really great non-league opponents.
Yeah, no, we've always had a good opening schedule. Valparaiso is a very tough team. They're physical, they're well coached, as you said, and they always have been. So it's been a good opener. That's why we've been opening with them for 22 years now. I think it is 23 years. And then Mishawaka is obviously. The local rival, backyard brawl is not much more to say about that. And it's going to be at their place, and they've got a brand new field. So I know that stadium is going to be packed. It's going to be their home opener, and it's going to be a hostile environment, and it's a good test for our team.
Coach Giesman always used to call it the grocery cart game.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's going to go to the grocery, and they're going to fight it all out in the aisles of Meyer and Martin's. I guess that's what it's all about. Great to see you, man.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Really happy for you. Cole, thanks again. Aiden, best of luck, guys. Appreciate you taking the night. Best of luck. And once again, good luck, Pete Reardon, hanging out with the legendary Tanner Camp. He is the voice of Penn High football. We're blessed because we've been the voice of the Kingsmen here since 1994. That's a long time. That was before.
I was still playing.
You were still in high school.
I was still playing.
So, wow. It's cool. Wrapping up the program here tonight, the legendary coach of the Concord Minutemen, Craig Kaler, who begins his 10th year, joins us next. We'll be back after this 2-minute timeout on 91.1 FM Globe, globeradio.org, and rrsn.com.
Quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Presenting the Horizon Bank elevator pitch. Why aren't we telling you about ourselves? We're waiting for you to tell us about yourself. Our pitch can wait. Horizon Bank. Get a conversation started.
Look at you.
Ticket to the best seat in the house since 1992. This is the Regional Radio Sports Network at rrsn.com.
Where'd Pete run off? Back here on Regional Radio Sports, our finale. We're going to stay with the green mode now as we're going to talk to my good friend Craig Kaler, the head coach of the Concord Minutemen. 10 seasons. God, it's hard to believe you've been doing this for 10 years, man. Great to see you, buddy. How's your family?
Great, man. Always great to see you. It's crazy because it's year 10, but also my oldest is a freshman.
Yes.
It's wild. Just feels like my wife and I were just talking about this. First day of school pictures, we were turning the clock back. It's like,
and I was thinking back to the time when you had your ticker go haywire on you.
Yeah.
And then, how that went. And your health good and everything going well?
Feel really good. These guys keep me young.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. It's a great way to wake up and go to work.
I know you had I was following you a little bit on the social media, and I don't do that because they don't allow me to do that stuff. My young staff says, you stay away from that, old guy.
Yeah.
But I know Coach Kahn was back at your practice the other day. I did see that. How neat is to have someone, played such a prominent role in so many lives in Dunlop, come back and hang out with y'all.
It was awesome. Coach Kahn kind of turned the tide of the program.
Sure.
He took the job in '77 against advice from a lot of local people and was on Ken Meyer's staff at Goshen, and they were winning their butt off at that time.
Yeah, they were.
Everyone thought he was crazy to take the Concord job. And 7 years later, we're in the state championship game. So he was kind of the guy that injected. We had some good years, I think, prior to that, but he kind of got the program going in the direction that we all wanted to go in.
And then, of course, Tim comes in. Tim does what Tim did. Tim did an amazing job, and I know you had a chance to work for him. You had to follow him. I mean, you're in the same situation where Pete's. You had to follow. A legend, and You can say the same thing about Timmy Dawson.
No doubt. He actually spoke to our kids last night. So,
boy, you're hanging out with the guy. These guys are getting some high quality guys.
Yeah,
man.
we had some really good guys come in during camp and speak to our players, and it's not easy to follow the Hall of Famer, and like Pete's getting ready to do that himself.
When you look back on the landscape of where you guys are at with your football program, and I know you've got it's going to be all Elkhart County for the first couple games with Elkhart and Jimtown, and you're going to, it's important to win those kind of games, but I know that your ultimate goal is win your league and, of course, have some postseason success. I know the Cavemen knocked you out in round 2 last year, so there's some things. So let's talk about the schedule and how those things will, it's important to play high-quality competition in the 2 non-league games. I just really believe that. My case in point would be this. For many, many years, the Fort Wayne schools played everybody in their league.
Yeah.
They never went elsewhere.
Right.
But the last couple of years, since they broke the league down where you can go out and play other teams from around the state, they are exponentially going to get better because there are certain geographical areas that are going to expose weaknesses that you may not necessarily see during the course of your season. And I think in you guys, I think it's neat. I mean, Penn's in that situation. They go over to the region to take on Valpo, but they also have Mishawaka. But you guys, they've got 2 dynamite programs right in your backyard.
Yeah. Well, as soon as, and I don't remember like the exact timeline, but once it became fairly common knowledge that Elkhart was going to combine, I went right into Dave and I said, get like week 1. Like done because there was going to be a huge void in the community because that was always Central Memorial. They always played week 1 and always played in front of a massive crowd. And I knew a couple things. A, we were going to be playing a school of over 3,000 kids, which was going to be good for us on the field, right? But then I also knew that there was going to be a void that needed to be filled with that game, and I knew if we could be that week 1 game, like we just talked about this in our parent meeting, that there's going to be a ton of people there, in 8 days. And what an opportunity for our kids and their kids to play in front of a crowd that size. So it's a great opener for us. It is a great opener because they have good players, they have a good staff, and we're going to have to play well to be competitive in the game, and that's the expectation. And then we turn around and play Jimtown, who we've been playing for 60-plus years straight. So that game, the Concord Jimtown game, will never not be played just because of the history of the game and the gate and all those variables that play into scheduling.
Let me throw some numbers at our audience. 171 rushes, 1,468 yards, 19 touchdowns. Also, 63 tackles, 12 for loss, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and an interception. That's the guy that's sitting next to the right of Coach. All right, Teron, tell us a little bit about it, man. I know that you made the decision that it's off to Purdue, but was that a difficult decision?
No, I wouldn't say it was. Honestly, it was one of those things, where I got there, I got around the guys, the coach. And it was just like when I got there, spent some time around him, like I just knew, I wanted to be there. And honestly, like I was talking to the coach for, a really long time. I have such a close bond with him, and all their guys, they just represent just a family so much, and it just really fit me. And on the academic side of the thing, what I want to do, they're really good at. They're a good business school, good engineering school. So it's really like I'm getting all my worth there. So it wasn't a hard decision at all.
Give us an idea on what it's like playing for Coach Kaler. I mean, I know that family's a big aspect of what he does. Give us an idea on your thoughts on his program. You
Honestly,
like it?
I love it. He preaches, doing everything together and bonding, that's our theme, brotherhood, one now together. So, he's always gonna, an F5OH family, F5OH. So he's always preaching it. The culture runs so deep, even further, before him. So it's always like he's always gonna make us feel like a family. You always feel like, we care about each other on the football field or off the football field. So.
All right, let's get some thoughts here now from Milo Martinez. Milo, also a member of the track team. Milo, give us an idea as you look at the landscape of your team collectively. And I know for you as a linebacker, I want you to speak specifically about your defensive unit. In addition to yourself, who else is going to have a monster year for you guys to have a great year?
Yeah, man, we've got a lot of returners that were first-year players on varsity last year. You know, they've got some snaps under the belt now. You know, Josh Sullivan, lost him last year. He didn't play. He's coming back. He's going to be a big part of it for us. We got returner Kamari Jackson. You know, he's one of those guys on the defense. You know, you can count on. Will Danner, monster in the weight room, man. He really can go out there and play. If you just got to play to his best ability. EJ Jennings, statement player out there, man. He's got the straps, you know, he can just do it. You know, Camden Bonds, returner, statement at DN. You know, he's the guy we rely on. You know, Derek Gomez played some last year on the defense side when we went triple option. Looking at linebacker this year, Jamar Moten also in the mix. Those guys really, you just got to step up and, you know, play how they know they can play, and I think we'll have a pretty solid defense.
Let me ask you this. What's it like playing against JT here, man, in practice? If you're playing defense and he's on offense, I mean, can you find this guy?
Yeah, you know, whenever we go best on best, you know, we go man-up drill, all the competitive drills. It's always like, who wants a piece of Duran? I'm always the first one hopping up, you know. Even if it is me getting drove back, you know, me and him go at it.
Duran, how about you? Who's your guy that you like matching up against?
I gotta say him. You know, it's always been, you know, me and him have kind of been with each other throughout the years. So, you know, we've just grown together, gotten better together. You know, we're always bettering each other. So,
Duran, I'll have you talk about the offense. Who are you expecting big things from the offense?
Big things from the offense. I'd say our quarterback to start, Bo Brunner. You know, he's been to many camps this year. He's learned a lot from, you know, different trainers and stuff like that. So he's going to have a monster year. He's going to surprise a lot of people this year. And receiver Sharice Bavard, he was number one on the field last year. He was our number one target last year. So, you know, he's going to have a monster. He's going to have a great year too. You know, I think he's also going to surprise a lot of people. You know, he might not be the biggest, might not be the tallest, but, you know, he brings a lot to the table. And I think EJ Jennings too. You know, he's also our corner, but I think he's going to be great at receiver too. You know, he's tall, can make big grabs over the top and stuff like that. And one that'll catch people off guard also is Jack Jewett. Jack Jewett, he's a really shifty outside receiver. So I'd say definitely those guys for sure.
Craig, they mentioned a lot of guys there. Is anybody else you want to add to that group? And you know, when you look at is the offense ahead of the defense now? Defense ahead of the offense, or about the same?
We have, you know, our biggest, I don't want to say concern, but where we have to continue to develop is offensive and defensive lineman depth. You know, like right now, I think we have 7 to 8 players that we feel good about on a Friday night. But long term, we probably are going to need to develop a couple more. It's just our schedule, our league. It's extremely competitive, physical league, and right now, you know, probably in these first couple weeks, we're probably going to end up having to play some of these linemen too many snaps, just because there's 2 or 3 of them that are not quite ready. Now, eventually, they're going to have to be ready. But that's probably our primary area of concern. We think we have some good players, but we certainly would like to play. We're going to have a bunch of 1.5 guys. You know, a lot of guys are going to have to 3 interior D linemen that also are going to play some guard on offense. And, you know, it's going to be one of those mixed bags where we're going to do a good job of subbing and personnel and people to keep people as fresh as we can.
Try to steal a half an hour sometime here during the season. We'll be at our favorite table. Come back and join me again, would you?
Love to.
Always give my best to that freshman, man. Hard to believe. I remember pictures that you showed me of them when they were little. That is going to be so awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
It is awesome for you, Milo. JT, boiler up.
Yes, sir. Boiler up, baby.
All right. For all of us at Regional Radio Sports, thanks again to everyone, to all our coaches, to all of our athletes. It's been a privilege. Don't forget, we'll be back with you on Monday on our flagship station, WEFM 95.9 in Northwest Indiana. We'll be talking with all the Duneland schools, the Northwest Crossroad Conference, maybe even some of those teams from the Northern Indiana Conference that will filter that way. Special thanks here to Fred Maxey as well as Tanya Condry and Tanner Camp. Thanks again to my guy back at the studios, Cormac Kuplichty, for his wonderful work at the Globe. And for all of us at Regional Radio Sports, thanks to our sponsors, Harrison Sons Construction, Beefo Brady's Cubit Networks, Leard Insurance, Ronald McDonald House, McDonald Physical Therapy, and Horizon Bank. For all of us at Regional Radio Sports, I'm Paul Condry. God bless you all. Good night, everyone.
Broadcast is brought to you by the Regional Radio Sports Network, your ticket to the best seat in the house since 1992. The United States Marine Corps, the few, the proud, the Marines. Centier Bank, since 1895, Indiana's largest private family-owned bank. State Farm Insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Ivy Tech Community College's Lake County campuses. Your future starts here. Horizon Bank, exceptional service, sensible advice for 150 years. Engravables, your headquarters for awards, trophies, and plaques. Tech Credit Union, the better option for personal and business banking.
You talk to your kids about many things, so when it's time to talk to them about finances, know that Centier Bank offers a fee-free student checking account to help guide good spending habits today for an even better tomorrow. Centier Bank.
We develop quality citizens who keep our core, our country, and our communities side by side on the winning side. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Presenting the Horizon Bank elevator pitch. Why aren't we telling you about ourselves? We're waiting for you to tell us about yourself. Our pitch can wait. Horizon Bank. Get a conversation started.